Before becoming the peerless powerhouse of the sacred realm, you dreamt a harrowing dream. In that dream, you suffered a failed tribulation before the eyes of 10,000 people. Your wife, whom you had married only a fortnight prior, chose that moment to divorce you. She left behind only your infant daughter, merely half a year old. From that day forth, you and your daughter relied solely upon each other for survival. In the years that followed, you poured your heart and soul into raising her for decades. You even exhausted your entire fortune to procure a peerless divine sword for her. Yet, when she finally stood at the pinnacle of the world, she publicly denounced you as a cold-hearted, ungrateful demon. She joined forces with dozens of powerhouses to drive you into a dead end, and even used that very same divine sword to pierce through your chest. The vividness of that scene startled you, causing you to awaken abruptly. To your surprise, the moment you opened your eyes, you saw your daughter glaring at you, shouting in disdain. "What are you doing sitting here? Are you here to lecture me again just because I skipped my cultivation practice this afternoon?" She stood with her hands on her hips, her voice piercingly sharp. A flicker of azure light crossed the depths of her eyes. Looking at that face which bore a seven-part resemblance to the radiant fairy, your heart remained completely devoid of ripples. I understand the situation all too well. At this moment, she had just returned from a garden stroll with Lu Mingxuan of Gusu City. In the past, this was the exact moment I gave her the sword obtained by selling our Taoist temple. In the end, as soon as she turned around, she gifted it to that pampered young man. What is even more ridiculous is that the man she favored approached her, from start to finish, solely for the Hunyuan true scripture in my possession. Can you stop trying to manage my life every single day? Young Master Lu comes from a prominent, prestigious family. Even his father does not restrict him as much as you do. You yourself failed your tribulation and have no hope of further progress, so you are simply venting all your frustrations on me, aren't you? She rolled her eyes, her face filled with undisguised impatience. Had I been my predecessor, I would have already labored to explain the dangers of this world and the importance of cultivation to her. But I am not him. I leaned back into my chair and replied, "You are right. From now on, I will no longer force you to cultivate." She was instantly stunned, her eyes wide with shock. "Is that true? From this day forward, do as you please. I shall no longer interfere with your affairs. If you wish to abandon the sword, then do so. If you desire to court young Master Lu, then pursue him with all your heart. Your life belongs to you. I grant you your freedom." The suspicion on her face quickly transformed into wild joy, and she repeatedly asked if what I said was truly the truth. After receiving my affirmative answer, she skipped away toward her chambers, overflowing with excitement. True freedom is only yours when I choose to bestow it upon you. If I do not grant it, you could not seize it even if you tried. Once that man named Lu has drained you of your worth, and the cruel realities of this world have taught you the true meaning of hardship, do not come crawling back to me in tears to beg for mercy. I am finished with you. I closed my eyes and began to circulate the Hunyuan heart technique. Thon Min Mountain, where the Thon Huyan Taoist temple resides, is richest in nothing if not the wood spirit qi. Boom, within 100 miles the forest swayed without a breeze. A vast torrent of wood spirit qi surged in from all directions, pouring directly into my dantian. Having meditated throughout the night, as the first light of dawn broke through, I suddenly opened my eyes, a flash of azure light shimmering in my depths. At the peak of the 9th layer of intelligence, not only had I stabilized the cultivation base that had been continuously declining, but I had also achieved a breakthrough into a major realm, leaving me only a single step away from the void transformation realm. It is a pity that my foundation remains damaged. Otherwise, relying on the immense spirit chi of this mountain, I could have surged directly into the void transformation stage. However, there is no need for haste. By tonight, I shall condense the seed of the great wood Tao and step into the void transformation realm. It is merely a matter of time. I stood up and walked out of the main hall, seeing senior brother Thun Fong sitting in his wheelchair. Junior brother Lang Fong was burdened with several large bags, and together with the little Taoist boy Xiao Shi, the three were preparing to move their belongings. Seeing me emerge, a wave of melancholy washed over me. My predecessor was truly blind to have abandoned those who stood by him through the abyss, neglecting the brothers who treated him with sincerity, choosing instead to pour his heart into that ingrate Shang Yun, trading away his artifacts for her sake. He had even intended to sell the home of these people to fund her. I walked over with a smile and patted senior brother Than Fong on the shoulder. "This Taoist temple is our home. It will not be sold." Senior brother Than Fong froze in place. "We are not moving anymore? What then of Shang Yu's magical artifact?" "Junior brother, do not worry on our account. We are already crippled. Shang Yue is the future of our Taoist temple. Children have their own fortunes, and if she does not cherish what I have given her, then so be it." I waved my hand and turned to look at junior brother Ling Feng, whose face was flushed with excitement. "Senior brother, it has been quite some time since Master passed away, and we haven't had braised pork since then, have we? Let us prepare a meal today." "That sounds excellent. I shall head into the city to purchase the meat immediately." Ling Feng's eyes lit up and he hurried down the mountain. Xiao Shi also skipped away to gather firewood and kindle a fire. Senior brother Qing Feng stood up from his wheelchair with the help of his cane, his face beaming with joy. Watching this scene, only one thought occupied my mind. My predecessor, look at this. With such beautiful days ahead, you chose not to live, but instead insisted on being a bootlicking sycophant. You deserved the end that ultimately befell you. At that same moment, in Gusu City, Shang Yun was walking along the embankment arm in arm with Lu Mingxuan. "Young Master Lu, could you refrain from mentioning that good-for-nothing every time we go out? Am I here on a date with you or with him? I have no desire to speak of him. Shang Yu's face was filled with dissatisfaction. Lu Mingxuan offered a forced smile, a flicker of calculation flashing deep within his eyes. Very well, we shall not speak of him. Tell me, has he been teaching you any new cultivation techniques lately? You are doing it again. Shang Yue shot him a glare, though she quickly became boastful. I have good news for you. That good-for-nothing Shang Yun has finally stopped interfering with me. From now on, I can go out with you whenever I please. He will never meddle again. The smile on Lu Mingxuan's face instantly stiffened as he abruptly grabbed her by the shoulders. He is no longer controlling you? Then what of the sword? Did he not give you the Qing Lishan sword? You are hurting me. Shang Wei cried out. Lu Mingxuan hastily released his grip to apologize, though if it were not for the fact that her father Shang Yun had once dominated his entire generation, he would consider even a single word spoken to this foolish woman a waste of his time. He quickly regained his composure and said in a gentle tone, Shang Yu, tonight is my coming-of-age ceremony. You must attend, but my father, Lu Zhentian, has always opposed our union, claiming that our families are not well matched in status. If only you could present a gift at the banquet that would eclipse the offerings of the other noble families. My father would surely consent to us being together. Shang Ye was instantly thrown into a panic, but I possess nothing of value. Lu Mingxuan looked deep into her eyes and spoke each word with precision. You may not, but that useless wretch Shang Yun certainly does. If you can acquire his Hunyuan True Manual, the Lu family will undoubtedly permit us to be together. Is that true? I shall go at once. Shang Yu's eyes brightened as she turned and bolted toward the Qingshuan Taoist temple. Lu Mingxuan watched her retreating figure. The tenderness on his face vanished entirely, replaced by a cold, calculating sneer. Once he had bled Shang Yun of everything he possessed, the Lu family could ascend to even greater heights. It was a pity for Shang Yun, who had once towered over an entire era, only to fall at the hands of this foolish daughter of his. At twilight we were gathered around the dining table. Shang Yu kicked open the doors of the main hall, demanding arrogantly, Listen here, I am attending the Lu family banquet tonight. I am in need of a gift, prepare one for me. I raised my eyes and calmly uttered 2 words, I refuse. She instantly erupted, her brows arching in fury. Why would you refuse? Everyone else has gifts prepared by their families for such events. Only you are different. Are you intentionally trying to make me lose face? I lifted my teacup, took a slow sip, and countered, Last month on my birthday, did you prepare a gift for me? She was instantly rendered speechless, before quickly turning her shame into rage. She pointed directly at my face and began a frantic tirade, harping on the same worn-out narrative that I was selfish and that I was forcing my own failed dreams upon her. Before she could finish her insults, a sharp, invisible slap struck through the air, leaving a vivid crimson handprint imprinted upon her cheek. I flicked my hand, my expression remaining indifferent. What I choose to give you is yours. What I do not give, you shall not demand. Do you understand? She stood frozen, clutching her face as her mind went blank, tears streaming down instantly. Before her eyes stood that same familiar face, yet it felt so alien that it sent a chill through her very soul. The icy coldness in his gaze held none of the indulgence that once existed. You struck me. She bit her lip, wailing in misery. You wicked man, you stole my mother away, and now you dare to strike me? I shall go find her, and I will have her subdue you. With that scream, she turned and sprinted out of the Taoist temple, vanishing into the night. Martial brother Qingfeng made to rise in haste, intending to give chase. I called out to martial brother Shang Yu, shaking my head. Junior brother, she is but a child who understands nothing. Being young and having a conscience are 2 very different matters. I cut him off and turned toward Xiaoxi, who stood there innocently, pinching his cheeks with a faint smile. Xiaoxi, would you like the temple master to teach you the path of cultivation? Xiaoxi nodded repeatedly, his face bright with a naive grin. Yes, master. Whatever you wish to teach, I will learn. Martial brother Lingfeng, standing nearby, spoke in a low voice. Senior brother, have you truly never told Sheng Yu that it was the fairy Zhao Guang who deemed her a burden and abandoned her of her own accord? I raised my wine cup for a sip and replied calmly, If she wishes to seek her out, let her go. At that very moment, a deafening explosion echoed over the city of Gusu. A white jade phoenix carriage, drawn by an ink jade Keelan, tore through the void as it descended. Behind the carriage, 4 colossal golden armored warriors bore a massive banner. On the banner, the 4 great characters of the Dalua divine sect fluttered violently in the wind. Wherever they passed, the entire city trembled in their wake. Countless cultivators looked up, their faces etched with terror. Everyone knew this was the legendary chariot of the goddess of the Dalua divine sect, the phoenix carriage of fairy Zhaoguang, the goddess of the Central Plains. Her sudden arrival in Gusu within Yunzhou caused a stir. The carriage soared directly toward the Qingshuan Taoist temple. On the mountain path, Shang Yu, still crying as she ran toward the city, looked up, saw the phoenix carriage and froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. Recognizing it as her mother's carriage from the Dalua divine sect, she waved her arms frantically, screaming, Mother! The phoenix carriage slowed to a halt, and a colossal golden armored guard knelt, extending his palm. She did not hesitate for a moment, leaping onto his hand and vanishing into the carriage in the blink of an eye. Inside the carriage, fairy Zhao Guang sat draped in black robes and phoenix treasures, her beauty transcendent, her aura cold and aloof. As she watched her daughter Shang Yu throw herself into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably, unable to catch her breath, the fairy's brows knit ever so slightly. It was barely perceptible, yet she still reached out to pat the child's back. She forced a faint smile. It is all right, mother is here now, and no one shall bully you ever again. Upon hearing Shang Yu's embellished account of her grievances, the gaze of the Jiao Guang immortal maiden grew several degrees colder. She ordered her attendants to wait at the foot of the mountain, then took Shang Yue by the hand, ascending the stone steps toward the Qingshuan Taoist temple. Haha, keep the music playing, keep on dancing. The main hall was heavy with the scent of alcohol. Senior brother Qingfeng, his leg lame, was flailing his limbs about, imagining himself to be a butterfly fluttering in place. Junior brother Lingfeng was even more outrageous, sprawling on the floor and writhing about, insisting that he was an earthworm. Little Shi whimpered as he chased after them, picking up empty wine bottles while I rested my chin on my hand. Watching these two fools, I could not stop laughing. At that very moment, a voice cold enough to pierce the bone echoed through the hall. In an instant, the revelry within the hall froze. 10 years have passed. Have you truly fallen this far? A good for nothing as expected. Who goes there? Qingfeng and Lingfeng halted immediately, turning their heads to see the newcomer. Their intoxication vanished completely in a heartbeat. Their flushed faces drained of color. One quickly sat back into his wheelchair and feigned a cough. The other stood up abruptly, straight as a spear. Lingfeng, senior brother Qingfeng, they stammered, barely managing the words. Junior brother Lingfeng grabbed little Shi with one hand and pushed the wheelchair with the other, bolting out of the hall like a gale, not daring to look back. It was over. They had lost all dignity in front of an old acquaintance, and neither brother could bear to remain for another second. The main hall fell into an abrupt, deathly silence. The Jiao Guang immortal maiden stood before me, draped in robes of phoenix silk, her beauty as peerless as it had ever been, yet her eyes were filled with undisguised disappointment. The genius who once stood at the pinnacle of our generation and dominated the era, is this truly how you have fallen, hiding in this Taoist temple, drowning your sorrows in wine to escape reality? Mother, it is this good-for-nothing Shang Yun. He struck me today, and he forces me to cultivate day after day, forbidding me from seeing the one I love. Shang Yue immediately threw herself into the woman's arms, weeping and reciting her accusations, her face stained with tears and mucus. I watched this display of maternal affection and found it only laughable. Very well, Shang Yue, you have suffered great injustice. The Jiao Guang immortal maiden stroked her hair, then flipped her palm to produce a red silk ribbon inlaid with 7 precious pearls. This is a gift mother prepared for you. Do you like? Thank you, mother. You are the best. Shang Yu's eyes shone brightly as she lifted the red silk ribbon as if it were a priceless treasure. I laughed coldly to myself. A piece of trashed-here magical artifact meant for a maid could only deceive a foolish child who has yet to see the ways of the world. Only the Jiaguang fairy could orchestrate such a ruse over such meager favors. She even schemes against her own biological daughter. You, go outside. I have some private words for him. Look at your mother, then look at yourself. Shang Yun, I truly do not understand what your mother saw in you back then. Before leaving, Shang Yu did not forget to glare at me before skipping away in high spirits. Only the two of us remained in the main hall. Why have you come here? I lifted the teacup, lowered my gaze, and blew away the tea leaves, without even raising my eyelids, walking right past her. Let us take a walk outside. I have something I wish to discuss with you. Just say it here. She took a deep breath, finally getting straight to the point. The Dalua divine sect intends for me to enter a marriage alliance with the young master of the Taishu Dao lands. At that time, both sides will assist me in overcoming the half-saint tribulation. Having said this, she stared intently at me, as if searching for a trace of heartache on my face. Jealousy, resentment. Regrettably, she was destined for disappointment. Then, congratulations. Double happiness. I took a sip of tea, my tone as calm as if I were commenting that the weather today was quite pleasant. Is that all the reaction you have? Her brows immediately knitted together tightly. What else would you have me say? I raised an eyebrow, nearly laughing out loud. We parted ways 10 years ago. Did she expect me to weep bitterly or demand death over her departure? My predecessor perhaps would have, but I certainly would not. Shang Yun, she suddenly snarled. I was once your Dao companion. Can you bear to watch me marry another? Can you not show me at least a shred of ambition? Your cultivation foundation is permanently damaged, but it can be suppressed. You only need to beg my father and pledge your life to the Dalua divine sect. He will intervene to assist you. I nearly choked on my tea at her words. So her marrying another has somehow become my fault, and she wishes to use this tactic to manipulate my mind? If she truly did not wish to marry, who could hold a blade to her throat and force her? Why can you not learn? Yang Sanyang would rather die than submit, claiming she fears not turning to dust. If her own resolve is weak, why blame me as if I were the cause? I retorted with a single sentence. She was instantly rendered speechless, her mouth agape, unable to utter a single word for a long while. It is true, she has always been adept at using others as stepping stones. It was so in the past, and it remains so now. The predecessor was tightly shackled by this very facade of hers. Regrettably, I did not fall for this ruse. I let it go. She let out a sharp breath, turned around, and walked toward the door. She paused, then left behind a few words. My passing through this time is to visit the Yuhua immortal sect. The newly appointed Dao Seed divine son of theirs is none other than your third disciple, Su Changfeng. The disciples you took in those years after leaving you have all achieved great success. Some have become divine sons of sects, others contend for glory on the Heaven's Pride rankings, and there are those who have entered the demonic path, reaching the 5th tribulation realm of the true martial stage. Out of respect for our past bond as cultivation partners, I will offer you this reminder. Though your cultivation base is useless, your knowledge remains. Many forces are currently coveting your techniques and divine abilities. Avoid them if you can, or it will surely lead to your destruction. As the words faded, she was already far away. Under the full moon, her phoenix carriage glided across the void, vanishing into the night in the blink of an eye. I shook my head, paying her words no mind. The Jiaoguang fairy has always been a refined egoist. When I was at my zenith, she could discard everything to follow me, yet when I fell from grace, she could turn her back without a moment's hesitation. Sentimentality and matters of the heart, these are but trivialities that only the predecessor would dwell upon. As for me, my only goal is to forge my path to greatness. The next morning, I took a single step and my figure surged into the sky, landing precisely atop the peak of Mount Qingming, where the full moon hung high. The night wind whipped my robes, sending them fluttering violently. Primordial Heart Manual activate. The mountains within a 100-mile radius trembled, and countless wisps of wood attribute essence surged into the sky like the smoke of war, converging frantically toward me. I was the center of the storm, the very eye of the tempest, as vast amounts of life essence poured madly into my dantian. A single incense stick of time was enough to recover the cultivation I had lost during the day. At the third watch, a muffled reverberation echoed within my dantian as I reached the void transformation realm. As the sound dissipated, I abruptly opened my eyes, my divine sense instantly sweeping across the entirety of Qingming Mountain. Even the sound of a small beast snapping a dry branch at the foot of the mountain was crystal clear to me. The void transformation realm is complete. What brought me even greater joy was that within my sea of consciousness, a vibrant green seed of the great Tao of wood floated, silently shimmering with light. The only unfortunate matter is that the wood spirit chi of the entire Qingming Mountain was drained dry by me in a single night. The trees across the mountain have all withered and died. If I wish for this seed to germinate and take root, I must seek out many more spirit herbs. My gaze shifted toward Gusu City. The Liu family. I recall clearly that the Liu family possesses a substantial garden of spirit herbs. As it happens, those people have been hovering around my Taoist temple like flies lately, repeatedly probing my background. Since they have delivered themselves to my doorstep, would it not be disrespectful of me to decline? Immediately after, I flipped my hand and retrieved an ancient black tome. The true martial emperor body. This is the physical refinement technique my predecessor obtained within a secret realm during the peak of his power. Once brought to great success, one could transcend the great tribulation of the true saint with a bare body. My predecessor obtained it too late in his previous life, but now is the perfect time for me to cultivate it from the very beginning. I closed my eyes once more, manifesting my true essence into a hammer, and began strike by strike to temper my physical body. At the same time, in Gusu City, the Liu family's coming-of-age banquet had long since concluded. The core members of the Liu family gathered in the main hall, the eyes of everyone present overflowing with greed. How goes the affair between you and that girl? Clan leader Liu Zhentian sat in the primary seat, his voice deep and stern. Lu Mingxuan wore a face of absolute confidence. Father, rest assured. A yellow-haired girl who has never seen the ways of the world, a few displays of a hero saving a beauty, and some honeyed words have already left her utterly infatuated. The foundation establishment technique we obtained from her previously has allowed many of our clansmen to succeed. It is far superior to our family's own cultivation manuals. Very good. Lu Zhentian slammed his hand against the table forcefully. If a single foundation establishment technique holds such power, imagine what could be achieved if we... How powerful will our Lu clan truly become? The breath of everyone in the great hall turned heavy and hurried. The greed in their eyes was practically overflowing. However, Lu Mingxian changed his tone, his expression darkening. It seems that Shang Yun no longer intends to instruct Shang Ye. What? Lu Zhen's expression shifted instantly. If he will not teach Shang Yue, how are we to obtain the cultivation manual? Father, why must you panic? Lu Mingxian smiled sinisterly. Your son has already sent men to investigate thoroughly. That Shang Yun is nothing more than a cripple. Even with a Huashu realm cultivator hiding nearby, he did not show the slightest reaction. Lu Zhentin's eyes lit up. He pondered for a moment before looking downward. Deacon Wu, come here. The following morning, the glow of dawn bathed Qingming Mountain. I stepped out of the great hall and saw senior brother Qingfeng absorbing the essence of the morning light. Junior brother Lingfeng was hoisting a massive bluestone, training his physical strength. Little Shi held a broom taller than himself, laboriously sweeping away the leaves strewn across the ground. Why has this mountain withered so much in just one night? Senior brother Qingfeng muttered, to which I replied, the weather has turned cold and the leaves have yellowed. Is that not perfectly natural? I said with a dismissive smile. He turned his head to look at me and was instantly stunned. Junior brother, what has happened to you? You seem to have suddenly grown younger. Previously, I was always shrouded in an aura of age and lingering melancholy, but now that stagnant energy has dissipated completely. My eyes were as clear and bright as a youthful spring. I suppose I have simply come to terms with certain matters. I smiled and turned my gaze toward Little Shi. Little Shi, come here. I promised the other day that I would teach you the path of cultivation. Little Shi ran over, broom in hand, his eyes lighting up momentarily, but they quickly dimmed and he lowered his head. Master of the temple, you once said that my aptitude is too poor and that cultivation would only be a waste of time. I should continue to diligently sweep the courtyard instead. As long as you do not cast me out and allow me to remain by your side, I am content. A complex emotion welled up within my heart. In his past, he chose disciples based solely on talent. Those gifted disciples achieved great success and renown, yet not a single one remained by his side. Conversely, it was the young Taoist acolyte he rescued on that bitterly cold winter night who guarded him for a lifetime. It is no matter, I shall bestow upon you the immovable wisdom King Sutra. Take the scripture. Once you can clear all the fallen leaves on this mountain in a single day, you shall be considered initiated. On the path of cultivation, innate talent is but a fragment. One's temperament and perseverance are what truly matter most. Just as I was patting Xiaoxi on the head, intending to offer a few more words of guidance, my gaze suddenly flickered toward the eaves of the main hall. A dark silhouette was huddled there, a bamboo blowpipe in its hand aimed directly at my heart. They had arrived. Finally, unable to restrain themselves any longer, they made their move. I recognized him instantly. The fifth elder of the Liu clan, Lu Zhenhai, a cultivator at the third level of the Void Transformation Realm. How fortuitous, I shall turn his own plot against him and sweep this filth away in one fell swoop. Remaining calm and composed, I continued speaking to Xiaoxi as if I had noticed nothing at all. Whoosh! A poison needle tore through the wind, piercing straight toward my heart. Who goes there? I let out a cry of shock and indignation, my body went limp and I collapsed to the ground. This sudden turn of events occurred too swiftly. Senior brother Qingfeng and the others were instantly stunned. My junior brother, senior brother Shang Yun, and the temple master all lunged forward in a frenzy. Senior brother Qingfeng pulled me tightly into his embrace. Seeing my face turn ghastly pale and golden light spilling from the corners of my mouth, his eyes turned bloodshot with rage as he looked to the heavens and roared, "Why? My junior brother has already withdrawn from the cultivation world and seeks no part in its affairs. Yet you still refuse to let him be." Junior brother Lingfeng roared in madness. His figure expanded, transforming into a giant standing 3 zhang tall, his fists clenched, his muscles bulging with raw power. "Show yourselves." Beside me, Xiaoxi knelt, tears streaming down his face as his small, trembling hands wiped the golden fluid from my mouth, sobbing until he could no longer speak. From the eaves, Lu Zhenhai witnessed this, his eyes filled with manic glee. He let out a long, arrogant laugh, turned and fled into the forest, vanishing in his haste to escape. Junior brother Lingfeng prepared to pursue, but I spoke weakly to hold him back, acting my part with absolute conviction. Do not go. He is a high-level expert. You cannot catch him." Meanwhile, on the path down the mountain, Lu Zhenhai tore off his black veil, laughing wildly with his face flushed in triumph. So what if he is the champion of the Heavens Pride ranking? A cultivation genius who appears once every 500 years amounts to nothing. He shall succumb to my goo poison. Even if a great Luo immortal were to descend, he would not be able to save him. Thinking of a supreme expert in the true martial 10 tribulations realm falling by his own hand, he rushed toward the Lu family in a frenzy, never noticing a small golden insect the size of a fingernail silently crawling into his sleeve. As night fell in the sleeping quarters of the Qingshuan Taoist temple, junior brother Lingfeng paced back and forth anxiously, muttering to himself incessantly, "You fool, what is the point of your pacing? Do you intend to make me dizzy to death?" Sitting in a wheelchair, senior brother Qingfeng's expression was dark to the extreme as he slammed his hand against the armrest. Le Qing shouted, causing junior brother Lingfeng to freeze, and then he awkwardly sat down, looking toward me. "Senior brother Shang Yun, why don't I carry you to the great Luo divine sect? I believe Fairy Yaoguang still has feelings for you. She surely would not stand by and watch you die. Yunzhou is 100,000 miles away from the great Luo divine sect. You intend to carry me? By the time you arrive, I will already be a pile of withered bones." Senior brother Qingfeng glared at him and then pushed his wheelchair in front of me, his face full of regret as he said, "Junior brother, it is all my fault. I was too weak. If I had been even slightly stronger, if I could have protected you, how could today's events have transpired? I have failed you." No sooner had he finished speaking than senior brother Qingfeng could not help but raise his hand to strike his own face. Thwack! Before the blow could land, his wrist was seized by a hand with long, slender, pale fingers, every knuckle clearly defined. Senior brother Qingfeng was momentarily stunned, looking up to see that I, who had been deathly pale and on the verge of expiring, no longer showed any signs of being injured. I was smiling as I looked at him, junior brother. Senior brother Qingfeng stared at me in bewilderment. In the next instant, he saw me wink at him and draw a silver needle the length of a finger from my sleeve. Senior brother Qingfeng's eyes widened instantly, round as copper bells. Junior brother Lingfeng, who had just sat down, also bolted upright. "Rest assured, though my cultivation base is gone, my consciousness still retains a sliver of the void transformation realm. They cannot harm me," I said with a faint smile. Thud. Senior brother Qingfeng struck my chest with a fist, his anger turning into exasperation as he said, "Very well, if you deceive outsiders, that is one thing, but to deceive your own senior brother?" Junior brother Lingfeng looked on, bewildered, scratching the back of his neck as he asked, "Senior brother, if you are truly unharmed, why the need to feign such injuries?" I cast a meaningful glance at him, then turned my gaze toward the mountains shrouded in the pitch-black night, and spoke calmly. If I did not act in such a manner, how else would those filth hiding in the shadows dare to reveal themselves? As these words left my lips, junior brother Lingfeng nodded, seemingly half understanding. Senior brother Qingfeng fell into deep thought for a moment before offering a wry, pained smile. "Junior brother, you did not even give us a warning. Look at how badly you frightened us." That lad Xiaoxi was crying until he was a total mess. I smiled and replied, "Natural expressions of emotion are the finest form of acting. Senior brother feels you have become far more cunning than before." Senior brother Qingfeng waved his hand, then, as if recalling something, asked, "Then junior brother, once Shang Yu returns, must we tell her the truth?" "There is no need." I shook my head and assumed a grave expression, saying, Senior brother, junior brother Lingfeng, those rats will certainly not dare to act rashly in the coming days. They will continue to observe. You two must continue to act as if my time is running out. Do not reveal any flaws, do you understand? Junior brother Ling Feng immediately pounded his chest in assurance. Rest assured, my acting skills have deceived even our master in the past. This will certainly be no problem. As for senior brother King Feng, he remained silent, his head hanging low, his eyes downcast, his fists clenched tight, exuding an air of such profound rage and tragic sorrow that he seemed ready to die of grief. He covered his tears with his sleeve and wailed, "My poor, pitiable junior brother. The heavens truly envy those with talent. First the tribulation failure, the destruction of your cultivation base, and now to be harmed by villains. I hate this. Cuff senior brother, you are overacting a bit." I cupped my hands and let out a soft cough. He replied, "Understood, I shall temper my performance." Senior brother Qingfeng gave a dry laugh. "Well then, senior brother, I suddenly crave some braised pork." I replied, "Very well, Lingfeng, and I shall prepare it immediately." Once senior brother Qingfeng and junior brother Lingfeng had departed, my countenance returned to its state of calm indifference, and a green talisman wrapped in red thread slid down from my sleeve, resting securely within the palm of my hand. Once this talisman is crushed, I can restore my entire cultivation base within the span of a single incense stick's time, briefly returning to the peak strength of the Zhenwu 10 Tribulations realm. In that fleeting moment, he will show the Lu family the true meaning of invincibility. At the same time, within the Gusu Lu family estate, a group of core figures had gathered. "Lu Zhenhai, are you absolutely certain that this Shang Yun has been struck by your poisonous needles?" Lu Zhentian asked, his face filled with agitation. Casting aside his disguise, Lu Zhenhai, draped in fine robes, stroked his beard and chuckled. "I saw it with my own eyes. After Shang Yun was struck by my poison needles, he collapsed instantly. His fellow disciples and brothers were weeping bitterly. How could that possibly be faked?" Lu Mingxuan stood nearby, chiming in with a grin. "Indeed, just earlier, while I was walking the streets with that foolish girl, Shang Yue, the little acolyte Xiaoxi from Qingshuan Taoist Temple came running to us in tears, demanding that Shang Yue return immediately. Does that not prove that Shang Yun is severely wounded and has little time left to live? Haha, good, heaven truly has eyes, bestowing such a grand fortune upon our Lu family." Lu Zhentian laughed with wild intensity. "Father, should we strike now then?" Lu Mingxuan spoke up impatiently. "The sword technique Shang Yun passed to that foolish girl Shangya previously. He has only learned a few stray moves, yet his strength has already soared. He dare not even imagine, if he could slay Shang Yun and seize the complete sword manual, how powerful he would become. There is no rush tonight." Lu Zhenxi shook headed, saying, "Shang Yun was, after all, a man who once suppressed the entire world. No one knows if he possesses any hidden trump cards. It is better to remain cautious." After a moment of contemplation, Lu Zhentian continued, "In the coming days, continue to observe Shang Yun to see if there are any unusual reactions. Furthermore, third young master, you are to go to the Chenghe sect, the Xuan sect, the Songshan school, and the Uyong family in Hong'an City. Make a tour of these sects and noble clans, and tell them to join us in this undertaking, but remember well, demand that they keep this strictly confidential. Father, with such a good opportunity, why invite them at all? Would it not be better for our Lu family to claim it all for ourselves?" Lu Mingxuan was stunned by this, asking with suspicion, "You fool." Lu Zhentian glared at Lu Mingxuan and snorted coldly. "In this world, how many factions are currently coveting the cultivation manual in Shang Yun's possession? The reason this situation fell into our hands is simply because we were the first to stand close to the source. Once Shang Yun perishes at our hands, will we not be thrust onto the crest of the storm? We must ensure multiple factions are involved so that we can share a common enemy. By standing united against outsiders, we can divert their focus and avoid becoming the sole target of their aggression." Lu Mingxuan still could not help but interject, "Father, but the information regarding Shang Yun's condition was something I painstakingly extracted from Shang Yue's own lips. To simply hand over the benefits to others like this, we are suffering far too great a loss." Hearing this, Lu Zhentian narrowed his eyes into a smile and said, "You foolish child, let me ask you, whose territory is this? And who will be the ones in control?" Upon hearing these words, Lu Mingxuan's eyes instantly lit up. "Haha, as expected, father is truly brilliant." Meanwhile, on the stone steps leading to the Qingshuan Taoist temple, Xiaoxi walked ahead with reddened eyes, occasionally reaching up to wipe away tears. Shang Ye followed closely behind, her steps unsteady, her entire being appearing hollow and lost. That useless old man Shang Yun was fine yesterday, eating and drinking. How could he have suddenly been struck by a poison needle? With little time left, her mind was in turmoil and an inexplicable emotion tightened her chest. Although he was strict with me, forced me to cultivate, interfered with my affairs, and even struck me, he is, after all, my father. She suddenly froze and looked up, dazed. Did she not wish every day for his passing so she could go find her mother? Why, when it is truly happening, is it so hard to breathe? Sister Shang Ye, what is the matter? Xiaoxi turned around, his voice hoarse. "It is nothing. Let us continue up." Shang Ye waved her hand, her expression full of impatience. Panicking, Xiaoxi urged, "Sister Shang Yue, the temple master, Master Shang Yun is on the verge of death. Are you not worried in the slightest?" "Whether I am worried or not, what business is it of yours?" Shang Yu's expression shifted instantly. She crossed her arms and sneered mockingly. "You are nothing more than a little pet raised by my family. Are you truly worthy of meddling in my affairs? I only hope he dies sooner so that I may depart for the Dazuo God sect. Is that not 100? Xiaoxi trembled all over with rage. raising his hand high, the words on the tip of his tongue, words regarding the reputation of the saintess, his own sister, yet in the end, he could not bring himself to utter them. Strike me. Why don't you strike? Are you afraid? Shang Yun held her head high, her face full of provocation. Xiaoxi drew a deep breath and resentfully lowered his hand, his eyes filled with estrangement and disappointment. Shang Yue, if you still possess a shred of conscience, go and visit the master of Shang Yun Temple. Having said that, he turned and dashed toward the temple without once looking back. Weakling, Shang Yue spat, yet she slumped onto the stone steps, pulling her knees to her chest and curling into a ball. At the same time, in the temple's private chamber, I sat cross-legged on the bed, a golden parasitic beetle resting in my palm. Through the shared vision of the mother-child insects, I pondered, are they planning to summon other forces to deal with me together? A faint, knowing smile curled the corners of my lips. A peak-tier experienced talisman would be far too wasted on the Liu family alone. It is better to gather them all in one fell swoop, saving me the trouble of hunting them down one by one. Master, a child's sobbing voice rang out. Xiaoxi rushed into my arms, tears streaming down his face. I nonchalantly hid the insect and instantly assumed a pale, sickly expression, my voice as frail as a candle flickering in the wind. Xiaoxi, you have returned? Master, please do not fall. I do not want you to fall. He hugged me tightly, trembling with grief, and for a moment my heart softened. What is called blood kinship is at times inferior to the sincerity of a child picked up from the streets. I stroked his small head and said gently, silly child, I have yet to see you achieve greatness. How could I possibly fall? You must cultivate diligently, for in the future you shall be the one to protect me. Is that true? He looked up, his tear-streaked face filled with anticipation. Of course it is true. I began to teach him, one word at a time. The immovable wisdom, King Sutra, and the breathing techniques. His small face tightened with focus, etching every word I spoke into his mind. In his eyes, this was the final time I would ever teach him. A creaking sound echoed as the room door was pushed open. Shang Yue strode inside, casting a glance at me, then at the deathly serious Xiaoxi. A strange bitter ache rose within her heart. Xiaoxi paid her no mind, rising to bow before me. He then turned and departed, not even sparing her a single glance. What is the meaning of this pretense? Shang Yue let out an annoyed huff, turned to look at me and asked, are you truly nearing your end? Well then, you should just hurry up and die. Once you are gone, I shall head to the Dazuo divine sect to find Mother. She lifted her chin, intentionally feigning a tone of cold indifference. She instantly fell silent. I merely gazed at her calmly, uttering not a single word. After a long moment, she crossed her arms, feigning a posture of magnanimity. Listen, if you are willing to admit your faults to me, and confess that you were wrong all these years, I might show mercy and ask Mother to send the immortal fairy Guang to save you. She will surely listen to me. That will not be necessary. I shook my head. She stamped her feet in fury, shouting, you stubborn fool, you deserve to suffer. If you wish to die, then die. I will no longer concern myself with you. Having said this, she slammed the door shut and stormed off in a rage. I retracted my gaze emotionlessly and closed my eyes to feign sleep, thinking to myself, mud cannot be used to plaster a wall. I had already given her a chance. It was her own choice to reject it. Over the next few days, the base of Qingming Mountain became unusually bustling. Peddlers pushing their carts passed by, pulling senior brother Qingfeng aside to peddle funeral wares. Senior brother with reddened eyes asked them if they sold mourning banners and incense. A woman selling tofu blocked the path of junior brother Ling Feng, and he immediately placed an order for 30 jin of white tofu for the funeral feast. As soon as those people turned away, the two brothers immediately dropped their act. Senior brother Qingfeng sat in his wheelchair, his expression filled with disdain. Does someone with such meager strength truly believe they can compete with me in acting? Junior brother Ling Feng crossed his arms and sneered, such a clumsy ruse, do they really take me for a fool? In the great hall, Ling Feng pushed Qingfeng inside, his face full of excitement. Senior brother, as expected, the foot of the mountain has been full of unfamiliar faces lately, all coming daily to probe for information about you. I waved my hand and the hall door slammed shut. Are there any loopholes? Rest assured. Ling Feng slapped his chest and boasted. Back in the day, I drank 3 parts and acted so convincingly that even Master was moved to tears. Deceiving these small fries is as easy as turning over my palm. Can you go a single day without boasting, or would you die? Qing shot him a glance, then turned to look at me, his expression full of confusion. Junior brother, I truly do not understand. When others wish to deal with you, you do not feign strength to repel them, but instead pretend to be on the verge of death to lure them in. Why is this? Ling Feng slapped his thigh hard. Shang Yun, senior brother, could it be that your cultivation has recovered? It has not recovered, I smiled. Do not ask any further. I have my own reasons for acting this way. At the same time, the main hall of the Liu family in Gusu was as noisy as an overturned hive. Patriarch Liu Zhenten, great news. Taoist Qingfeng has already begun purchasing funeral flags. Ling Feng has also ordered white tofu. Shang Yun is surely reaching his end. That is correct. That girl Shang Yu has said it herself. Shang Yun's final hour is approaching. Lu Mingxin said with great excitement. Let us strike now. If we delay, the spoils will be snatched away by others. Lu Zhentian let a loud, hearty laugh, his face flushed with excitement. Heaven aids my Liu family. It is fated that my Liu family shall rise. He turned his head toward the third young master. Third young master, when will the Chang sect, Xuanping sect, Songshan sect, and the Ouyang family of Hong'an City arrive? Replying to Patriarch Lu Zhentian, they will all arrive at Gusu City by the hour of the bow tonight. Good. Lu Zhentian slammed his hand onto the table, his murderous intent surging. At the hour of the Z tonight, we shall raise Qingxuan and finish off Shang Yun. The night was as dark as ink, with neither stars nor moon visible. Everyone in the Taoist temple was fast asleep, and I sat alone on the long corridor dressed in white robes. Amidst the night sky, several streaks of swordlight tore through the air, heading straight toward the Lu estate. They have arrived. I have two choices. One is to wait for them to reach the mountain, crush the talisman, and thoroughly eradicate them before everyone's eyes. A battle that would shake the world. The second is to strike first and gain the advantage, to directly raise the Lu family, seize their medicinal herb garden. There is only one pinnacle experience talisman. Using it is exhilarating, but it will undoubtedly invite even greater trouble. Since that is the case, it is better to strike first and gain the advantage. Boom! I took a single step and my figure vanished from sight in an instant. Before the gates of the Sea Manor in Gusu City, the Sword Saint Wu Chen, sect master of the Zhonghe Sword Sect, Venerable Lei Dong, patriarch of the Ouyang clan from Hong'an City, Perfected Master Guangyuan, sect master of the Baoping Dao sect, and Venerable Qian, sect master of the Zongshan sect, had all gathered. The five great powers were assembled, each one a peerless expert at the peak of the Shenyu realm. Lu Zhentian sat in the seat of honor, overflowing with arrogance. Now that Shang Yun had perished, we five houses shall divide his possessions equally, and my Lu family shall have the priority of selection. You have no objections, do you? Reasonable. Perfected Master Guangyuan stroked his beard and nodded, and the others followed suit in agreement. Excellent. Sun Qian raised his cup and drained it, then slammed it onto the ground. At the hour of the rat, we set out to finish Shang Yun. After today, our name shall surely resound throughout the Kangyuan region and be etched into history. The divine sword behind Sword Saint Wuken rang out with a sharp chime. I truly wish to see whose sword is sharper, Shang Yun's or mine. A flash of demonic intent flickered in the eyes of perfected Master Guangyuan. I must see for myself just how much capability this genius of sorcery who claims to transcend his generation truly possesses. Lightning crackled violently around Venerable Lei Dong, his battle intent soaring, while flames danced at the fingertips of Venerable Qian, eager for the fray. A faint smile curled Lu Zhentian's lips. He was certain of victory. Five great peak Shenyu experts gathering to deal with a cripple like Shang Yun. The advantage is entirely mine. How could I possibly lose this battle? In this world, there are always ants amidst the dust that enjoy challenging the immense might of an elephant. Outside the Sea Manor, I stood silently, watching the light spilling out from within. This is nothing more than foolish arrogance. Crack! I crushed the talisman in my hand, and a barrier immediately enveloped the entire manor, severing it from all outside surveillance. The very next moment, a terrifying surge of celestial light erupted from the depths of my soul. Boom! The divine sea in my dantian expanded from a small pond into an endless ocean, and an immortal golden light radiated from every inch of my flesh. My black hair whipped in a frenzy. First stage of Huashu, first stage of Shenyu, the first tribulation of Zhenwu, rising all the way to the 10th tribulation of Zhenwu. I slowly opened my eyes, runic symbols of the great Tao swirling within my pupils. An aura as profound as a bottomless abyss and as vast as a tsunami swept through the entire manor. The Lu family's mountain-protecting formation, capable of repelling even those in the true martial realm, shattered into dust in the blink of an eye. Heavens! Lu Zhentian's expression shifted violently within the main hall. The Lu family elders rushed out in a panic, only to freeze in their tracks. Under the veil of night, a figure in white robes as pure as snow approached, his body radiating ethereal energy, the very laws of life and death flickering beneath his feet. How could Shang Yun possibly be here? Was he not on the verge of falling? This aura, the true martial realm, the elders were terrified out of their wits, and Lu Zhenhai's face drained of all color. Is this truly the man who was struck by the poisonous needle? I looked upon them, calmly uttering two words, mere ants. Swish, with a single glance, a lotus bloomed within my eyes. The Lu family elders vanished inch by inch from their feet to their heads, dissolving into a rain of light that scattered in the wind. Lu Mingzhuan, trailing behind, froze instantly. Seeing this spectacle, his entire body trembled uncontrollably. Thud, his knees gave way and he fell to the ground. His face was as pale as a sheet of parchment. He finally realized that Shang Yun had never fallen from his pedestal. From the very beginning, the entire Lu family had been resting in the palm of his hand. Shang Yun, for the sake of Shang Yue, please spare me. Despair covered his face, his voice trembling so violently he could barely form words. You catch on quickly, don't you? I cast a glance at him. In my previous life, this good-for-nothing Lu Mingxuan had deceived Shang Ye for a lifetime and drained every ounce of my cultivation techniques, only to end up swaggering arrogantly before me in the end. In this life, how could I possibly grant you a chance or even a single breath? Take one last look at this world. Amidst his desperate screams, I flicked my finger. Boom! His head instantly collapsed as energy surged outward, and his entire body turned into a pool of golden liquid. He was dead beyond any hope of resurrection. Lu Mingxuan, Lu Zhentian's eyes nearly burst from their sockets. He lunged out of the hall like a madman, striking toward me with a palm blast. The four sword saints of Wuchen followed closely behind, their expressions grim to the extreme with nowhere left to retreat. It was like catching turtles in a jar, only they were the turtles. It's not good. He is using a forbidden technique and cannot sustain it for long. Attack together and finish him off. The five of them erupted simultaneously with the terrifying aura of the peak divine travel realm, unleashing their ultimate techniques as a sea of flames surged toward me. 100 Zhang blade of sword light tore through the night sky, cleaving heaven and earth as the diagram of life and death crushed the void, while the divine thunder spear shattered the firmament. The five great powerhouses unleashed their full strength, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to rend. The entire Gusu city was shaken to its core. As the night wind whipped through my black hair, I gazed up at the earth-shattering divine abilities with an expressionless face. The divine transcendence realm, which appears as royalty or even immortality to the eyes of mortals, remains nothing but an ant in my sight. I reached out and grasped the void, calmly uttering a single word: refine. Boom! Chaotic energy erupted, and the surrounding void was instantly locked in place. Lu Zhentian and the other four, along with their world-destroying techniques, were trapped within 100 zhang of space. Under my grasp, the space began to shrink violently. Within a single breath, the five powerhouses and their countless divine abilities vanished without a trace. A scroll, thin as a withered leaf, drifted down from the sky, which I caught firmly in my palm. On the scroll, the expressions of absolute terror etched upon the faces of those five men were captured with lifelike detail. My 5 fingers exerted slight pressure, and the scroll instantly shattered, turning into dust. With a gust of wind, it dissipated entirely. I sensed that the cultivation within my body was nearing exhaustion, so without a moment's hesitation, my divine sense swept across the entire Lu estate, revealing every pavilion, hall, and room in vivid clarity. Found it, my gaze tightened, locking onto the medicinal field in the southeast, where dozens of spirit herbs radiated an aura of wood spirit energy so dense it had turned purple, 100 times more potent than the common spirit trees of Qingming Mountain. Come here, I smiled, reaching into the void, and every spirit herb in the garden flew into my sleeve. That is enough. These are sufficient to push my cultivation to the 3rd stage of the void transformation realm. I did not pause, shifting my gaze to the 3-story armory pavilion nearby. These weapons and artifacts would serve perfectly for me to refine the metal spirit energy, and in the blink of an eye I had emptied the entire armory pavilion. I then proceeded to strip the storage rings and personal artifacts from Lu Zhentian, the Sword Saint Wukan, and their cohorts, leaving nothing behind. Not a single item remained. There was no other choice. I am currently penniless. Once everything was settled, I lifted my gaze toward the outskirts of Gusu City, where countless cultivators were converging from all directions, eager to spectate. The commotion had grown quite significant. I raised an eyebrow, a sudden plan forming as a wicked smile tugged at the corner of my lips. Innate one-key great hand seal. A colossal arm obscuring the sky and covering the earth, condensed in the void, its palm imprinting the patterns of the great Tao as it slammed down upon the entire Shu estate. Boom! The heavens collapsed, and countless structures. The city was reduced to ash, and immediately after, a brilliant red flame erupted with me at its center. The entire ancestral grounds were submerged in a sea of fire. I stomped my foot and soared into the sky. Beneath my feet, the sea of flames surged, incinerating every trace of the battle into cinders. Hidden deep within the ancestral tomb lay an ancient monster in the midst of a life-or-death retreat. He had just pushed aside the stone lid, eyes opening in bewilderment as he sought to assess the situation, when my massive hand seal descended upon him. A true 10th-rank mortal realm expert, this old monster's courage shattered on the spot. He let out a hoarse shriek, his face twisted in horror as if he had encountered a demon. I have only been in seclusion for 3 years. How did the Lu clan manage to provoke such a powerful entity? Before he could react, my palm strike descended like a falling star, crushing his body into fragments. High in the air, my form underwent a sudden transformation. The corners of my eyes elongated into sharp blades, my pupils darkened to the color of ink, the cycle of reincarnation flickered, my eyebrows thickened, and my white robes were replaced by dark armor. Demonic energy gushed forth like a thick, turbulent tide, staining the entire sky black. In the span of a few breaths, I transformed into a colossal black crow that seemed to swallow the heavens and the earth. Countless smaller black crows and demonic energy swirled around me, like a myriad of birds paying homage to their demon lord. The demonic cult has arrived. Those who defy my will shall be consumed by hellfire and cast into the eternal depths of the infinite purgatory. My low booming roar echoed across the skies of Gusu City. The cultivators gathered below were stunned, their expressions shifting instantly as they shrieked in absolute terror. It is the demonic cult's leader, the Blood Satiety Demon Venerable. The Demon Lord, second disciple of the invincible Shang Yun. The Blood Satiety Demon Venerable, why is he here in Yun Prefecture? The Demon Lord, ranked within the top 10 of the Heaven's Pride list, has appeared in Gusu. Beneath the full moon, I morphed back into my human form and looked down upon the city, feeling a sense of satisfaction in my heart. The title of Blood Satiety Demon Venerable, belonging to my second disciple, is truly useful. I seem to have casually crushed something just a moment ago, but I frowned and immediately cast the thought aside. Time was running short, and I needed to finish off the remaining 4 great sects that participated in today's war, as plundering their cultivation resources was my primary objective. I kicked the void, shattering the space beneath me, and the flock of crows behind me transformed into black flames, soaring into the sky and vanishing toward the horizon. Behind me, Gusu City descended into complete chaos, as countless cultivators frantically steered their flying swords back to their sects to deliver the news. A single thought consumed his mind. Yuncho was about to change masters. In the span of a single night, the Lu family of Gusu, the Ouyang family of Hong'an City, the Chang'e Sword sect, the Baoping Dao sect, and the Zongshan sect, the 5 great powers of Yuncho, were completely uprooted by me. Experts of the Shenyu realm fell like rain, and those of the Zhenwu realm perished as their Dao essence dissipated. Only Void Taoist, a 3rd Tribulation Zhenwu master from the Baoping Dao sect, managed to narrowly escape with his life, fleeing in terror toward the northern plains. This news swept through Yuncho like a hurricane. Everyone was driven into a frenzy, speculating why the Bloodfiend Demon Lord had suddenly descended upon Yuncho. Was it for a supreme treasure surfacing, or was it for the master he had kept in hiding here? It was for me. All of Yuncho fell into total chaos with the great powers gripped by panic. As the tides of unrest surged, the man they called the Demon Sect Master walked toward Qingshuan Dao Temple, a smile on his face and hands clasped behind his back. This trip has been immensely profitable. Senior brother Shang Yun, I had barely stepped onto the stone stairs when two figures, one thin and one stout, rushed toward me. One was pushing a wheelchair that sparked as it moved, while the other moved with the speed of a gust of wind. They were senior brother Qingfeng and junior brother Lingfeng. Oh my, senior brother Shang Yun, where did you go so early in the morning? A massive incident occurred in Gusu City last night. Adept Lingfeng wore a look of extreme urgency. I feigned ignorance, replying I was merely taking a stroll at the foot of the mountain. What has happened? Adept Lingfeng glanced around before lowering his voice. You have not heard yet? That lad Xiao Yu returned last night and annihilated 5 major sects in a single night. Hiss. Is that true? Of course it is true. The entirety of Yuncho is buzzing with the news right now. Before he could finish, senior brother Qingfeng, standing to the side, spoke with a dark expression. Junior brother, if you wish to deceive a fool, that is one thing. But are you trying to deceive even me? My heart trembled slightly, yet my face remained impassive. What are you talking about, senior brother? Still putting on an act? Qingfeng glared at me with irritation, then snorted coldly. I was wondering why you were feigning weakness before the enemy, so you used that lad Xiao Yu as your hidden contingency. He appeared suddenly last night. If he wasn't acting under your orders, how could such a coincidence occur? You were attacked, and he arrived immediately afterward. Are you two teacher and student colluding together? You might deceive others, but you cannot deceive me. Having said this, he leaned back against his wheelchair, his face filled with the smug satisfaction of one who has seen through everything. I opened my mouth and casually gave him a thumbs up. Senior brother is truly sagacious. Ha 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 ha. I told you that lad Xiao Yu was not heartless. Deep down, he still remembers his master, which is me. Qingfeng stroked his beard and laughed loudly, chatting idly about the disciples of years past. I then made an excuse to take my leave. I headed straight for the back mountain to seal the entrance. A concealment array instantly shrouded the entire peak. Thick fog locked away all movement in sight. Whew! After rushing about all night, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Borrowing the reputation of my second disciple, the Blood Fiend Demon Venerable, to carry out my plans last night was a spur-of-the-moment decision, but it saved me a mountain of trouble. As for what the Blood Fiend Demon Venerable himself might think, I am his master. What is the harm in borrowing his title? It is only a slight pity that time was too tight last night, allowing that old man Taoist void to escape. I shook my head in regret before immediately feeling at ease. Let him run. Every grievance has its perpetrator and every debt its collector. If he wants revenge, let him go find the Blood Fiend Demon Venerable. I waved my right hand and countless medicinal herbs flew out from my storage ring, piling up into a small mountain before me. The dense essence of wood chi that refused to dissipate instantly blanketed the mountaintop, transforming it into a lush emerald sea. I took a deep breath, and the divine sea within my dantian surged violently. That seed of wood essence the size of a bean showed signs of sprouting at last. Indeed, absorbing the primal origin is the most prosperous path in the cultivation world. Opening the Hunyuan True Scripture, I closed my eyes and circulated my entire cultivation base. Boom, the essence of wood chi, nearly condensed into a physical form, surged madly into my body. A grand transformation had officially begun. For these 3 days, I would remain in seclusion. Deep within the remote Shaowei Mountains of the central province, a dramatic spectacle of internecine conflict between disciples was unfolding. Upon the mountain peak stood 3 individuals, all of whom are my own disciples. On the left, dressed in crimson robes, with an ethereal and graceful figure, is my 5th disciple, the red dust enchantress Yun Shang. On the right, dressed in azure with flowing white hair, a vertical scar marks the center of his brow. He is my 4th disciple. Mo Ying, the puppet master, stood caught in the middle, wearing an expression of pure misery. He is my 7th disciple, the thousand-faced Taoist Baiyu. Yun Sheng and Mo Ying stood in fierce confrontation, their colliding auras causing the surrounding peaks to tremble. Caught in the middle, Baiyu's face turned purple from the tension. Finally, he could no longer hold back his roar. Stop arguing. Our master has 7 disciples. Whatever treasures exist are divided equally, so what is there to fight over? 5th senior sister Yun Shang, didn't senior brother Mo Ying deal with one of your paramours all those years ago? So many years have passed. Surely you aren't still holding a grudge? 4th senior brother Mo Ying, didn't 5th senior sister Yun Shang destroy one of your magical artifacts to get her revenge? What is it that you want? I will go steal one for you. Can we just end this matter once and for all? And one last thing, the 2 of you can argue all you want, but can you go argue somewhere else? I am being driven to my wit's end. Only then did the 2 of them sullenly retract their auras, though they did not forget to glare viciously at one another. Baiyu let out a breath of relief, wiping the sweat from his brow, and offered a bitter smile. In those days, the 7 of us left the master, vowing to gather here at Shaowei Mountain every year. Yet fewer people arrive each year. Now only the 3 of us remain. Try to bicker a little less. Mo Ying's expression darkened. Those who did not come are nothing but ungrateful wretches. Sooner or later, I will dispose of them all. For once, Yun Shang did not contradict him. Crimson thread surged from her fingertips and a cold, murderous intent was laid bare. We are only who we are today because of our master. If any have forgotten the vows of the past, then do not blame me for acting on behalf of our master and hacking them into 10,000 pieces. Bai Yu let out a sigh and changed the subject. Tell me, do you really believe our master, Shang Yun's, cultivation has truly become useless? Yun Shang frowned. That year, Master Shang Yun failed his tribulation and his Dao foundation was shattered. We all witnessed it with our own eyes. How could it be fake? Mo Ying's gaze tightened. You ask this, is it because of what happened in Yun province a few days ago? Indeed, the blood demon Venerable has always been in the Central Plains preparing to unify the demonic sects. How could he have suddenly appeared in the Yun province? But if it was not him, then who was the one that appeared in the Yun province? Throughout this world, the only ones who possess the great dark demon art are the blood demon Venerable and Master Shang Yun. Mo Ying nodded slowly. This matter is truly bizarre. My subordinates have been keeping a close watch on the demonic cult. For some time now, the blood demon Venerable has never left the Central Plains. Very well, you even dared to monitor the blood demon Venerable himself. Yun Tuo immediately raised her eyebrows and let out a cold laugh, but Mo Ying ignored her, gazing toward the direction of the Yun province. After a long silence, he spoke. Now that I remember, it has been a long time since we last visited our master. It is time we return to see how he fares. If we return with our current identities, wouldn't that bring trouble upon our master? Yun Tuo shook her head in disdain while Mo Ying looked toward Bai Yu. Seventh disciple Bai Yu, you are the most skilled at disguise. You shall return in our stead to approach Master Shang Yun. Remember well, do not let Master Shang Yun know your true identity. Bai Yu stood stunned in place. The three chatted for a few more moments, and seeing that no one else was coming, they dispersed. They did not notice that as soon as they departed, countless black crows rushed out from the forest, obscuring the very sky before converging in midair into the form of a man with black hair. He watched the direction in which the three had left, then turned his gaze toward the Yun province, rubbing his brow with a sigh, his expression full of helplessness. I say, Master, what is the meaning of you using my identity as a facade? Meanwhile, at the back mountain of the Qingshuan Taoist temple, within the thick mist, I slowly opened my eyes. An aura manifold more powerful than before instantly swept across the surroundings. Feeling the surging cultivation within my body, I let out a heavy breath. I inhaled deeply. The resources of the 5 great sects had forcibly elevated my cultivation from the first level of the Void Transformation Realm, skipping 6 stages entirely, reaching directly to the 7th level of the Void Transformation Realm. I clenched my fist, and the void around me, as if it were glass, fractured into a web of jagged cracks. This strength was not a phantom projection from my memories, nor was it the fleeting power of a talisman. It was entirely my own strength. Looking within my dantian, a lush green sprout had firmly taken root, the seed of the great Tao, imbued with the wood attribute of the 5 elements technique. As for the pile of weapons and magical artifacts from which I can refine the metal chi, at least for the short term, I no longer have to worry about resources. Seizing resources is truly the fastest path to prosperity. With my cultivation now stabilized, I departed from the back mountain. This was the first time I had appeared within the Qingshuan Taoist temple since annihilating the 5 great powers. Senior brother Qingfeng sat in his wheelchair. With a taut, determined expression on his youthful face, the stout-hearted Ling Feng was heaving a massive boulder. His muscles flushed crimson as white mist rose from his body. Junior brother Qingfeng said, catching sight of me first and greeting me with a smile. The other 2 likewise ceased their labor to offer their salutations. I nodded in acknowledgement, returning the smile. As the twilight sun descended behind me, my inner brilliance remained veiled. Yet for a fleeting moment, Qingfeng and Ling felt as though they were witnessing the return of the peerless genius Shang Yun, who had once dominated the entire Shang Yun realm. Junior sister Shang Yu has been off for the last 2 days, Qingfeng said, regaining his composure, his expression tinged with hesitation. Ever since the incident with the Liu family, she has locked herself within her sleeping chambers. She has not emerged for 3 full days. Perhaps we should go and see how she fares. Ling Feng, standing nearby, pursed his lips in visible displeasure, though he found it difficult to voice his concerns. I waved my hand, my tone indifferent. There is no need. Cultivators do not perish from fasting for a mere few days. Qingfeng sighed, realizing it was not his place to persuade me further. Just then, the grand doors of Shang Yui's sleeping chambers were suddenly kicked open. Her hair disheveled and her eyes bloodshot, her face twisted with bone-deep resentment as she locked her gaze upon me, screaming through gritted teeth. Why did you do it, father? She, in her misplaced self-assurance, was certain that I had been the one orchestrating the movements of the blood-slaying demon Venerable, wiping out the 5 major factions in a single night, with the sole purpose of tearing her and that young master of the Liu family apart. So that is why you, Shang Yun, stopped forcing me to cultivate. So that is why you did not oppose my involvement with young Master Liu. It turns out that everything you did, Shang Yun, was merely to buy time, waiting for that arch-fiend, the blood-slaying demon Venerable, to arrive in Yunzhou so you could settle everything once and for all. She took a step toward me, her voice growing increasingly shrill. I feel like a fool for having worried about you. I thought I was mistaken, but it turns out I was right all along. You, Shang Yun, are a selfish, cruel, and heartless man. I will never forgive you. A despicable person like you is not worthy of being my father. Shang Yu, you have lost all sense of reason. What nonsense are you spouting? Qingfeng and Lingfeng shouted in unison, while Xiaoxi did not even spare her a glance, treating her entirely as if she were air. I stepped forward, looking down at her from above, my eyes devoid of either joy or sorrow. I am not the original owner of this body, and I will not indulge this rebellion. I shall dispose of you. Her eyes blurred with tears, the 7-treasure red ribbon at her waist instantly flew forth, surging with spiritual energy and lunging directly toward me. I let out a cold snort, my hands clasped behind my back. The red ribbon came to an abrupt halt in midair. The spiritual energy it carried could not even stir a single strand of hair beside my ear. A mere 7th-level soul nourishment cultivation, combined with a magical treasure that even a serving maid would disdain. And you intend to finish me off with this? With a slight shift of my intent, her entire body was sent flying backward, collapsing onto the steps of the Taoist temple. Junior brother, Qingfeng spoke up hurriedly. Shang Yu does not yet understand the situation. Do not bring harm upon her. I sighed softly. I am to blame for this. For the past 10 years, I have focused solely on her cultivation, wishing for her to establish a foothold in this Shang Yun realm, yet I neglected that the root of cultivation is the cultivation of the heart. If you are capable, then finish me off right now. Shang Yu struggled to pull herself up. Refusing to submit, she raised her head and glared at me, spitting out each word with intensity. If you do not dispose of me today, I will certainly join the Great God sect and have my mother, the Guang Immortal Fairy, exact vengeance for me. I nodded, my expression devoid of emotion. Naturally, the moment these words left her lips, she was left utterly stunned. Soon after, she gritted her teeth and retracted the red ribbon. Without so much as a glance back, she sprinted out of the Qingshuan Taoist temple. Junior brother, she is your daughter, after all. Qingfeng panicked and turned around to shout, Lingfeng, why do you not hurry and chase Shang Yu back? I will not go. Lingfeng retorted stubbornly, turning his head to continue laboring away at the large blue stone. I smiled calmly. Senior brother, do not waste your effort. If she desires to join the Great God sect, no one can stop her. Rest assured, her death is certainly not in the cards. It is just that the mother, the Guang Immortal Fairy, whom she longs for so dearly, is currently preparing for a political marriage with the young master of the Taishu Taoist land. When that time comes, she will rush out and call out mother. That scene will surely be quite spectacular. As for the life of a pampered second-generation cultivator that she has fantasized about, Shang Yu ran away from the temple in a fit of pique. Aside from senior brother Qingfeng, no one gave this matter a second thought. Xiaoxi moved a chair beside senior brother Qingfeng's wheelchair, and I smoothed my white robes and sat down. Junior brother, the world of cultivation is treacherous and little Shang Yue is still inexperienced. Senior brother Qingfeng gazed toward the Taoist temple gate, his expression filled with reluctance. I rested my chin on one hand and waved dismissively. Senior brother, children have their own destiny. Her future is hers to choose. Let us speak of her no more. I was feeling famished, and after a hearty meal of braised pork, as dusk fell, I stood in the courtyard, fully aware that the spoils I had seized from the 5 great sects previously would not last long. The seed of the 5 elements great Tao, the wood element, had been cultivated. But to gather the remaining 4 elements, the resources required would be an astronomical figure. To put it bluntly, I am currently a mobile gold-devouring beast. I must earn wealth and acquire resources. Just at this moment, a streak of light flashed across the distant horizon, and the next second it descended before the temple gates. The visitor was a middle-aged man dressed in black robes, his sleeves embroidered with gold thread. His composed demeanor barely masking an underlying anxiety. He bowed low toward me with cupped hands. May I ask if this is the residence of Master Shang Yun of the Qingshuan Taoist Temple? I cast a glance at him and immediately recognized his origins. The servant Fubo's eyes brightened, and his back bowed even lower. Master is truly perceptive. I have come here today upon the instructions of the 3rd young master, Dongfeng Haoxian, who has an urgent matter to discuss with you. Might we speak inside? Seated in the main hall, with guest and host in our respective places, I leaned back against the chair, my hands clasped on my lap, not even raising my eyelids. Speak your piece directly. My Qingshuan Taoist temple has fallen into decline. It cannot compare to the illustrious Dongfang clan. Fubo dared only perch on the edge of his seat, so nervous that his palms were slick with sweat. After hesitating for a long moment, he finally opened his mouth. Does the master know of the 9 Yin Mountain secret realm? I lifted my eyes slightly and nodded. I am quite familiar with that place. It is one of the few ancient secret realms within Yun Prefecture, filled with ancient divine armaments. Might it just happen to help me collect the Gang Metal Qi? Fubo hurriedly explained their intentions. It is the 3rd young master Dongfeng Haoqian, who wishes to invite you to explore the secret realm together, and he said the reward is open to negotiation. I laughed coldly to myself. Are they trying to entice me with empty promises? My fingers tapped lightly against the armrest. The rhythmic sound echoed sharply through the silent hall. Fubo's gaze grew restless under the sound of my tapping, and he dared not even lift his head. Right at the moment his gaze dropped. I spoke up, agreeing to head toward the entrance of the secret realm. First, I demanded 3 Earth-grade divine weapons as a down payment. Once the task is complete, I will claim 50% of the harvest from the secret realm. I had expected Uncle Fu to haggle, but to my surprise he only hesitated for a moment before nodding directly. Very well. On behalf of the 3rd young master Dongfeng Haoxian, I agree. I understood immediately. It seems the old patriarch of the Dongfeng family is nearing his final moments, and his 3 sons are driven to madness in their struggle for the throne. This 3rd young master, Dongfeng Haoxian, is desperately seeking backing to secure his trump card. Uncle Fu arranged for us to meet in 10 days at the foot of Mount Juyin, then quickly vanished into the night. I sat alone in the hall, my eyes gleaming. As long as I obtain the divine weapon within the secret realm, the seed of the great path of Gang Metal will be perfected, and my cultivation base can break through directly to the peak of the Shenyu realm. Besides, what does the internal strife of the Dongfang family have to do with me? All I require is the resources. Early the next morning, I informed senior brother Qingfeng about my trip to Mount Juyin. Junior brother, the Dongfang family is not a force to be trifled with. I fear this journey will be fraught with unimaginable peril. Senior brother Qingfeng was filled with visible concern. Little Shi clenched his small fist, his expression solemn. Master of the temple is unrivaled under the heavens. How could he possibly encounter danger? I smiled and ruffled his hair. Senior brother, you need not worry. Since I have dared to agree, I naturally have the situation under control. I paused for a moment, looking out the door. That simple-minded Ling Feng had already gone to the back mountain to chop wood at the crack of dawn. I had pondered all through the night, and I had selected distinct cultivation manuals for my brothers. Senior brother Qingfeng was stunned. Change our cultivation technique? Ling Feng and I are already at such an age. It is likely too late to change now. Furthermore, the Qingshuan Taoist temple must have someone practicing the teachings left behind by our ancestors. My voice deepened. Senior brother, it was my failing in the past, but I am the temple master now. At those 4 words, senior brother Qingfeng's eyes instantly reddened. He raised his sleeve to wipe his eyes, stubbornly insisting, the wind and sand are far too strong this. In those days, the original owner of this body busied himself pampering his disciples and catering to his daughter, yet he never gave a single thought to these 2 brothers-in-arms who had faced life and death alongside him. Over the next 3 days, I imparted the heaven-grade middle-tier flying leaf divine art to senior brother Qingfeng, a technique perfectly suited to his mobility constraints. Once mastered, one can pluck blossoms or leaves, and use them to claim the lives of enemies from 1,000 miles away. As for that simple-minded Ling Feng, I bestowed upon him a heaven-grade lower-tier body tempering technique, the savage demon bull physique, which aligns perfectly with his innate divine strength. Should he train it to its absolute limit and manifest the ancient demon bull, plucking the stars and grasping the moon would be no difficult feat. After passing down the techniques, on the morning of the 4th day, I set out alone to honor my appointment with the Dongfang family at Mount Jiuyin in the northern region of Yunzhou. The journey spanned 100,000 miles. At times I traveled by air, at others I journeyed on foot. Years ago, I traversed the path from Yunzhou to the central region in just such a manner, ascending to the absolute pinnacle, only to have my physical body shattered in that very place. 2 days later, not far from Mount Juyin, the city of Pingzhang emerged at the end of the official road. I had always bypassed this city before, but this time I decided to enter and rest as there was still time remaining before my appointment. Upon entering the busiest street, I found a crowd gathered ahead, their noise and commotion blocking the path. Before a tavern, 7 or 8 disciples of the Luohe sect, dressed in cyan brocade, were surrounding a disheveled beggar, shoving her back and forth, their mouths spewing constant abuse. I cast a glance in their direction, and my brow furrowed instantly. That beggar was Shang Yun. Despite her position, she possessed a cultivation base at the 7th layer of the spirit-nourishing realm, yet she now appeared as wretched as any common pauper, her body caked in filth, her head bowed deep against her chest. The surrounding crowd whispered amongst themselves, noting that the Lua sect acted as the local tyrants, their arrogance long since habitual. That beggar is finished, they murmured. I did not steal from you. Shang Yun suddenly raised her head, her voice trembling violently yet filled with stubborn defiance. You had already paid and departed. I had simply paid for the meal. Whether I ate it or not, it was mine. To take it yourself is theft. The leading disciple gave her a forceful shove, sending her staggering backward. The crowd erupted in laughter and Shang Yun's eyes turned bloodshot. With a surge of spiritual energy, she manifested her 7 treasures red ribbon, preparing to strike. Yet that meager cultivation of hers was of no consequence before the disciples of the Luohe sect. The lead disciple snatched the Hong Ling from her grasp, while the 2 others hurled forward from either side, pinning her down. Let me go. My mother is the divine Jiaowang fairy of the great god sect. Shang Yun shut her eyes and screamed, tears streaming down her cheeks. At these words, the Luohe sect disciples laughed even more frantically, retorting nonsense. Just who do you think the Jiaoguang fairy is? How could a beggar girl like you possibly be her daughter? If your mother truly were the Jiaoguang fairy, why would she give you such a piece of trash, a mere yellow-grade Dharma treasure? Shang Yu's face went deathly pale in an instant. She was left completely stunned. Only now did she realize that the Hong Ling, which she had treasured as a priceless relic, was nothing more than garbage that even a serving maid would disdain. The mocking laughter surrounding her and the jeers of the passers-by completely broke her spirit. Tears like heavy rain fell to the ground, her eyes filled with utter despair. This one's appearance is quite refined, after all. The lead disciple gripped her chin, his eyes glinting with greed. Perhaps we should take her back and present her to the elder. With proper training, she would make a fine serving maid. The surrounding disciples clamored in agreement, dragging Shang Yun away, and I could no longer stand by and watch. My fingers twitched within my sleeves, and a wisp of Yiwood azure chi coiled around my fingertips, sinking into the void and plunging into the earth. The azure chi surged like a swimming dragon, slamming with a thunderous roar onto the heads of those Luohe sect disciples. A formidable pressure of spiritual energy swept across the area, causing the gathering onlookers to topple over in disarray. Those few Luohe sect disciples did not even have the chance to groan before they collapsed, unconscious. Leaving her standing alone, I turned to depart. Dressed in white, I moved with a speed that defied the eye, utilizing the earth-shrinking technique, disappearing around the street corner in the blink of an eye. She caught a fleeting glimpse of my back and remained standing there, dazed. I knew she had recognized me, but she immediately dismissed the thought in her heart. My mind remained without ripples, for the path was one she had chosen herself. I could save her this once, but I could not save her for a lifetime. Afterward, I went to sample the famous steamed fish of Pingjiang. In the end, it was merely an ordinary type of spiritual fish, its reputation entirely puffed up by marketing, bland and devoid of flavor. Traveling and resting along the way, I finally neared Juyin Mountain after several days. Above, beams of light occasionally streaked across the sky as cultivators from all directions converged upon this place. Some rode atop Dharma treasures, others upon divine beasts, and some sat within celestial carriages. It was like the 8 immortals crossing the sea, each displaying their own extraordinary powers. I stopped on a mountain peak, standing with my hands clasped as I gazed into the distance at the Juyin mountain range, which stretched like a giant dragon for 1,000 miles. From behind me came the sound of footsteps as a middle-aged man caught up to me, his face etched with a look of fanatical caution, as he cupped his hands in a bow toward me. "Might I dare ask if you are Senior Shang Yun of the Qingxuan Dao sect?" I turned around and gazed at him with indifference. I had, in fact, discovered him long ago. He had followed me throughout the entire journey, and I had even witnessed him transform his appearance into that of the middle-aged man before me. Even if I had not seen it, his entire cultivation base was something I had taught him with my own hands. How could I possibly fail to recognize him? My stare caused goosebumps to rise across his back, and sweat beaded on his forehead. He feared that with a single glance I had seen through his disguise. Just as he was about to reach his breaking point, the corners of my mouth curled into a smile, and I nodded slowly. "It is I." Baiyu exhaled in an instant, his relief palpable, and he hurriedly began to flatter me. "This junior has long heard of your esteemed reputation like thunder in my ears. To finally behold your true countenance today is my great fortune. Might I dare ask, Senior, is your arrival here connected to the Nine Mountain secret realm? This junior daringly requests to accompany you, that I might take the opportunity to seek your guidance along the way. I humbly hope that you will grant this request." Baiyu bowed with cupped hands, his attitude profoundly earnest. I glanced at him once, feeling a sense of amusement in my heart. I nodded and replied, "Let us descend the mountain peak first." I wanted to see what exactly this little disciple of Baiyu intended to do. Throughout the descent, Baiyu kept half a step behind me, acting exactly like a subordinate. After walking for half a day, Baiyu could finally contain himself no longer and spoke with caution. "Senior, there is a question. I do not know if I should ask it," I replied. "Speak your mind freely." Senior Shang Yun was once legendary, a man who reached the half-saint realm, yet it is a tragedy that the heavens did not favor you. That year, on the Shanglan River, your foundation was damaged, your Dao heart shattered, and your cultivation plummeted uncontrollably. Baiyu paused. "Continue," I urged. "From an invincible powerhouse at the pinnacle of the Zhenwu 10th Tribulation Realm, you are now merely the master of a nameless small sect. Does Senior Shang Yun not feel the weight of this change?" I did not stop my pace and spoke with indifference. In this world, what is gained through hardship is not easily lost, and what is gained with ease is lost just as easily. To gain or lose is a matter of destiny. The heart neither increases nor decreases. Baiyu suddenly halted his steps, staring at my retreating back, his face filled with In his memory, I had become irritable and quick to anger after failing my tribulation, lashing out at the slightest provocation. Compared to how I appear now, it is as if we are two completely different people. The depth of the senior's state of mind is truly incomparable. Baiyu regained his composure and hurried to catch up, his tone filled with sincerity. Seeing that he had finally relaxed, I laughed inwardly. Awaiting his next words, I watched as Baiu's eyes darted about, and he asked once more. "I have heard that Senior Shangyun once took in 7 disciples. I wonder, setting aside their cultivation levels, who among them do you consider the strongest and who the weakest? After all, they are all renowned figures in this Shangyun realm now. There is the demonic sect master, the blood-killing demon Venerable, the holy son of the Yuhadbine sect Kitu, the second palace mistress of the Hongzhen Palace Yun Shang, the formation master Mo Ying, and of course the heaven-deriving Dao Lord. That legendary swift-moving protector Baiyu, who is said to be righteous and compassionate, moving like a ghost without a trace, he truly possesses a great heroic reputation." When he mentioned himself, the sense of self-satisfaction was practically overflowing from Baiyu. I waved my hand dismissively and intentionally said, "If we are speaking of my 7th disciple, that Baiyu, he is the most talentless among them all." Baiyu was stunned for a moment. "Senior, please do not refute this just yet, hear me out. That brat Baiyu spends his time only on schemes and petty associations, pilfering whatever he can lay his hands on. He has no sect to support him, nor any faction of subordinates to command. Everything he does is beneath notice, so to call him talentless, is there anything wrong with that?" Baiyu dejectedly echoed. "If Senior puts it that way, then it is not wrong," his face falling as he remained sullen and quiet for the rest of the journey. I chuckled to myself, choosing not to expose him. This boy has wanted to be a great hero since he was young, his spirit is resilient, and he will likely forget this minor grievance by tomorrow. Half a day later, we finally arrived at the foot of Mount Juyin. With the secret realm about to open, the area beneath the mountain was crowded and bustling. No different from a marketplace, as various factions had set up camp and rogue cultivators laid out stalls to trade treasures. From afar, I spotted the banners of the Dongfang family, and Fu Bo was standing at the entrance of the camp, standing on his tiptoes in anticipation. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at Baiyu beside me. I must travel with the Dongfang family from here. It is time to part ways. I knew in my heart that this boy would never leave so obediently. That will not do. Bai Yu rubbed his chin, instantly putting on the look of a fanatic, his eyes gleaming. Senior Shang Yun, since I have been fortunate enough to accompany you this far, it is only natural that I enter this ancient secret realm with you. Divine weapons and earthly treasures are secondary. My primary goal is to witness the bearing of a senior such as yourself with my own eyes. Being stared at with such a gaze from a man made my skin crawl. I flicked my sleeves and remarked, "Follow if you must." Moments later, Uncle Fu stepped forward to greet us, bowing with a face full of smiles. Master of Shang Yun Temple, the third young master Dongfang Haoshan has been awaiting your arrival. Uncle Fu gestured, guiding Bai Yu and me into the encampment of the Dongfang clan. In the center of the camp stood a magnificent and imposing palace, itself a formidable artifact of a secret realm and not of a low grade at that. To think that even a third young master like Dongfang Haoshan, who was not held in high regard, would carry such a profound treasure on his person. The heritage of a top-tier clan is truly extraordinary, but as Bai Yu and I were accustomed to grander sights, we entered the palace with expressions unmoved. As soon as we stepped through the threshold, a youth in his early 20s came forward to welcome us. He was dressed in ornate silken robes, his figure slightly stout, with chubby cheeks that crinkled when he smiled. He possessed none of the debauched air typical of a dissolute young master. He offered me a respectful bow befitting a junior Dongfang Haoshan pays his respects. I nodded. "Third young master, you are too courteous. Years ago, even the old patriarch of the Dongfang clan could not even get close enough to curry favor with me. Now his son, the mediocrely cultivated Dongfang Haoshan, was crossing paths with me. The original owner of this body had truly spent the last 10 years living as a laughingstock." Dongfang Haoshan led us into the guest hall and called out loudly, "Everyone, look who I have invited here." The 4 people seated above did not even lift their heads, showing no reaction whatsoever. Dongfang Haoshan rubbed his nose in embarrassment and hurriedly introduced them to me. "Master of Shang Yun Temple? These individuals are the experts I have invited to lend their strength. This is the Formation Master and Soulcasting Master. This is the Alchemy Master, Master Xuan. This is the heir of the Mo family's mechanics. And this is the Straw-Cloaked Blade Master, the Mad Blade Knight." Having finished his introductions, Dongfang Haoshan straightened his back and spoke solemnly, "This is the Master of Shang Yun Temple from the Xuan Taoist Temple. His reputation echoes throughout the entire Shangguan realm. I assume I need not say more, correct?" Upon hearing this, the Mad Blade Knight scoffed, his face filled with disdain. "The man who was once the unrivaled champion of the Shangyuan realm? A supreme figure of the Wushiji realm? Is he not nothing more than a piece of trash now? You cannot even withstand a single strike from me. Who would have thought that a peerless prodigy, once the pinnacle of this world, would fall so low, not even worthy of being a grandchild of my clan?" Kei Guanzi also laughed boisterously, his coarse voice echoing the sentiment. "Crazy Blade Master, you speak too harshly. Look at him now, he is merely in the late stage of the Tongming realm, possessing not even a fraction of the prestige of the Zhenwu 10 tribulations. Never mind a single strike, even a mere flicker of your blade aura, he would be unable to withstand such strength, yet he still desires to claim a fifth of the secret realm's treasures. It is nothing more than a delusional dream." The remaining 2 elders, the soul-casting master and the alchemist Xuan, remained silent, yet they stared at me with deep, malicious intent. All 4 of them unreservedly released their Shenyu realm pressure, clearly intending to humiliate me on the spot. To insult a Shangyun who once stood at the apex of invincibility, this twisted pleasure caused every one of them to grow visibly excited. The moment their pressure was released, it was halted by an invisible barrier. The next second, a profound and unfathomable momentum, like a surging tsunami, reversed and crashed violently back upon the 4 of them. Bai Yu's expression had long since turned calm as still water. She stepped forward to block my path, her aura at the peak of the Shenyu realm vast and deep as the abyss of the sea, erupting with a thunderous roar. "Who are you?" The 4 were instantly struck as if facing a formidable enemy, their faces turning deathly pale, never expecting such a powerful expert as Bai Yu to be shadowing me. Beads of cold sweat trickled down Dongfang Haoshan's forehead. He hurriedly attempted to mediate. "Sectmaster Shang Yun, I am merely an insignificant nobody. I happened to encounter Senior Shang Yun on the road, and we merely traveled together by chance." Bai Yu's cold voice swept across the 4 men. "You weaklings, still crawling at the foot of the mountain, unable to touch the threshold of the Zhenwu realm in your entire lifetime, yet you dare to spew insults at Senior Shang Yun, who once stood upon the peak. How laughable!" The tension in the hall was stifling. Yet from beginning to end I remained indifferent, not even deigning to give those 4 a single glance. They were, after all, nothing. Everyone beneath the peak of cultivation is but an ant. At that very moment, a deafening explosion echoed from outside, causing the entire pocket dimension of the artifact to tremble. The 3rd young master, the eldest son Dongfang Haofeng, and the 2nd son Dongfang Haolin have arrived. Uncle Fu cried out in haste. Dongfang Hoshin's expression immediately darkened, yet he still strode toward the exit. This development forced the 2 opposing sides to temporarily cease their confrontation. I turned and followed Dongfang Hoshin outside. 2 majestic divine carriages appeared beyond the encampment, emanating an overwhelming aura. One was pulled by 8 earth element exotic beasts possessing the lineage of the fire Qilin. The other was drawn directly by a 4-legged flood dragon. The violent aura of the Shenyu realm surged through the air, causing the gathered rogue cultivators to gasp in shock. Many young disciples turned deathly pale. After a lifetime of arduous cultivation, they realized they were not even a match for the beasts pulling someone else's carriage. Second brother, is that Keelan beast of yours still not weaned from its mother's milk? Perhaps you should take it back and refine it once more? A figure clad in purple robes descended from the back of the flood dragon. He spoke with arrogance. This was the eldest young master of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Hafeng. Eldest brother, sooner or later, I will butcher your flood dragon to serve as a side dish for my wine. From within the Keelan carriage, the second young master, Dongfang Halan, stepped out. From behind the carriage, the faint sounds of music and singing drifted out, accompanied by the scent of incense. Dongfang Haoshan cupped his hands with an expressionless face. Haoshan pays respects to big brother and second brother. Let us enter the hall first. Concerned about how it would look to outsiders, the two brothers ignored him entirely. They stepped down from their carriages of their own accord, followed by a retinue of experts with profound auras. The surrounding rogue cultivators erupted into a clamor. The Marquess of Bashang, the Ice Spirit Fairy, and both sisters of the Snow Lotus Fairies, have they all arrived? Look closely at the person beside the third young master, Dongfang Haoshan. Is that the legendary invincible Shang Yun from years past? Was it not said that he was long since crippled? Weren't the 5 great powers wiped out in a single night by the disciple of his, the Blood Demon Venerable? Even if Shang Yun is crippled, he is not someone just anyone can toy with. Dongfang Hafeng adjusted his purple robes and cast a mocking glance at me. Shang Yun, has the Blood Demon Venerable arrived as well? If the Demon Lord is here, there is no need for us to continue this game. We might as well pack our bags and go home. Laughter erupted from the surrounding crowd. At this exact moment, Baiyu stepped forward. The peak Shenyu realm aura swept over the entire scene with unbridled aggression. He spoke with a cold tone. There is no need for the blood-slaying demon venerable. I alone am sufficient. I do not seek a reward for this journey. I only wish to accompany Senior Shang Yun. Is that enough? The entire assembly fell into dead silence. Even the expression of the Marquess of Shang and the Sisters of the Ice Soul sect turned somber immediately. No one had expected this middle-aged man, Baiyu, to be a Grand Master at the peak of the spirit-wandering realm. Just as the Dongfang family was in an uproar, streaks of light descended one after another from the distant horizon. The Li family and the Yun family, 2 of the 3 preeminent clans of Yunzhou, arrived in succession. I cast a glance at the leader of the Yun family. The veil-covered woman in red, Lin Wanyi, promptly withdrew her gaze. Back in those years when my reputation shook all of Yunzhou, Lin Wanyi was merely a subordinate standing behind the masters to broaden her horizons. Yet now she is capable of standing alone and commanding her own front. Following the 3 great clans, experts from all walks of life converged at the foot of Mount Juyin, hidden tigers and crouching dragons and gathering of legends. Mount Juyin suddenly trembled violently. Beams of radiance soared straight into the high heavens. A tidal wave of spiritual energy surged in all directions. The density of the spiritual energy in the air increased, visible to the naked eye. A tidal wave of spiritual energy. The entrance to the secret realm is about to appear. Someone shouted aloud, and every gaze remained fixed upon Mount Juyin. Dongfang Haoshan hurriedly cupped his hands toward me and the others. I trouble you all with this secret realm expedition. The rewards promised to you shall be fulfilled once the task is complete. I lifted my eyelids and spoke indifferently. Pay me the deposit first. Beside me, the Mad Blade warrior's eyes widened, and he seemed ready to berate me, but after catching a glimpse of Baiyu, he swallowed his words and turned away. Dongfang Haoshan did not hesitate in the slightest. He immediately retrieved from his storage ring 3 Earth-grade divine weapons, shimmering with a brilliant luster. Among them, one sword-shaped artifact had even reached the middle-rank Earth grade. His sincerity was evident. I nodded in satisfaction and waved my hand, stowing the divine weapons away. Baiyu, standing nearby, watched with a twitching eye. He was likely lamenting on my behalf, thinking that I treat even top-tier heaven-grade weapons as if they were mere refuse. To me, these 3 Earth-grade divine weapons were payment enough to escort a young master of the Dongfang clan like Dongfang Haoshan into the secret realm. At that very moment, the spiritual energy tide at the foot of Mount Juyin suddenly dissipated. A vortex of blue and white light began to rotate incessantly, manifesting in the air before the eyes of everyone. The entrance has appeared. The crowd erupted in cheers, yet no one dared to be the first to rush inside. In the world of cultivation, the strong prey upon the weak. Everyone knows well that those who stand out first will face the greatest pressure. Lin Yuani of the Yun family flew forward first, acting as the vanguard to enter the entrance of the secret realm, followed by the sword cultivators of the Li family, and only then came the 3 brothers of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Hofeng, Dongfang Haolan, Dongfang Haoshan, and our own group. Once the 3 great clans had entered, the scattered cultivators clamored to follow, leading to a world-shaking tremor and a blinding flash of light. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing on an unfamiliar plane. Fortunately, the secret realm did not have a scattering mechanism. The Dongfang family group, Dongfang Holin and Dongfang Hoshin, were all by my side. Lin Yuani of the Yun family and the Li family each occupied their own territory. The scattered cultivators went into a frenzy the moment they entered, as heaven-sent treasures could be seen everywhere across the plains. Although their quality was not high, their sheer quantity was immense, causing everyone to shout in astonishment. I was already accustomed to such sights. The 3 great clans were the same. None of them deigned to look at this pile of scrap. Lin Yuani of the Yun family and the Li family chose their respective paths to the left and right and departed. Dongfang Haofeng and Dongfang Haolan also led their men away one after another, not forgetting to mock Dongfang Haoshan before they left. Phew, Dongfang Haoshan breathed a sigh of relief, then forced a smile as he looked toward us. Everyone, let us be on our way. Our group proceeded toward a range of black mountains in the distance. I walked leisurely among the group with Baiyu by my side. Dongfang Hoshan finally revealed the truth. I have tasked others with researching the ancient texts. This secret realm is the blessed land of an ancient artifact refining sect from 1,000,000 years ago, divided into 3 layers: the periphery, the core, and the forbidden sanctuary. Our target is the deepest part of the forbidden sanctuary. As these words were spoken, the 3 soul masters revealed looks of realization. The arrays, pills, and mechanisms perfectly corresponded to the 3 cores of the sect's secret realm. I also immediately realized that in my original body's memories I had heard that this secret realm would eventually manifest a heaven flame. It seems that Dongfang Haoshan's true objective is this heaven flame. I spoke up directly. If you intend to seize the heaven flame in the forbidden sanctuary, then all other gains from this journey must belong to me. As soon as I finished, the group including Kwang Dao Ke immediately turned to stare. Is 5 parts of the profit not enough for you? You dare to covet the entirety of it. Dongfang Haoshan blinked, but meeting my indifferent gaze, his spirit instantly withered. I shall leave everything to the decision of Senior Shang Yun. The members of the Mad Blade sect exchanged glances, calculating in their minds they were no fools. They naturally understood that the secret realm concealed a supreme treasure. Having traveled only a short distance, the Mad Blade sect cultivator suddenly roared, and as his blade flashed, a ferocious void beast manifested from thin air. The following second, a trail of golden liquid traced from head to tail, and the entire beast was cleaved in two. The Mad Blade sect cultivator sheathed his blade and spoke in a mocking tone. This brother has quite a bit of knowledge, unlike certain others who only know how to collect benefits. These words were clearly directed at me. I slightly lifted my eyelids to glance at the carcass of the beast on the ground. As I walked, I said, void beasts are notoriously troublesome. Their ability to traverse the void is merely the beginning. More importantly, they hunt in packs. Your blade has now been tainted by the energy of the void beast. While within this secret realm, it would be wise for everyone to keep their distance from him. As soon as I finished, the group led by Ji Guanzi instinctively stepped back, putting a distance between themselves and the Mad Blade sect cultivator. No one wished to be hunted by a swarm of demonic creatures. Ambushed by void beasts? You people. The complexion of the Mad Blade sect cultivator turned deathly pale, and he trembled with rage, yet he could not utter a single word. Dongfang Haoshan hurriedly stepped in to mediate, and the group continued their journey. Along the way, the Mad Blade sect cultivator was ambushed 3 consecutive times by void beasts. Although he managed to deal with them, he was utterly exhausted. His expression had become repulsive to the extreme. Not a single person among the group offered to help. Baiyu leaned into my ear and whispered sarcastically, "This braggart from the Mad Blade sect is truly a complete fool." Very soon we arrived at the foot of the Black Mountain Range. The outer plains ended here. Blocking our path was a massive grand array that enveloped the entire mountain range. The Soul Array Master's eyes ignited with fervor upon seeing the formation. He pressed his face against it, as if he had discovered a rare, priceless treasure. "The rest is up to you, Grand Master of Soul Arrays. We shall stand guard nearby." Dongfang Haoshan hurriedly led everyone to retreat, yielding the space to the Soul Array Master. But just as everyone relaxed, a thin mist quietly began to emanate from the surroundings. The fog grew increasingly dense. A few paces away, the path became obscured. Only a vague silhouette remained visible. Dongfang Haoshan staggered. Had it not been for the support of Uncle Fu, he would have collapsed to the ground. This mist is poisonous. His complexion turned deathly pale, and the spiritual energy within his body nearly stagnated, becoming completely impossible to circulate. Drink this quickly. Pill Master Qingxuan immediately produced a porcelain vial, poured out a crimson medicinal pill, and spoke in a deep voice, "This is my secret detoxifying pill. It is not ranked among the tiers, yet it is capable of neutralizing 10,000 poisons under the heavens." Pill Master Qingxuan gave 1 pill to Dongfang Haoshan and swallowed one himself, hesitating for a long moment before distributing the remainder to the Soul Master group. When it was my turn, and Baiyu's, Pill Master Qingxuan tilted the vial upside down, feigning a look of regret. "The detoxifying pills are exhausted. Master Shang Yun, you too must pray for your own fortunes." Baiyu panicked instantly, his gaze sweeping over those who had not yet consumed the pill, but they moved with great haste. They immediately tossed the medicinal pills into their mouths. "It is of no consequence," I remarked, looking back at the spreading poisonous mist. "With the 5 elements power of the Hunyuan Heart Sutra protecting my body, this trivial poison cannot even touch me. As for Baiyu, he is already a master of the toxic arts. This fog cannot trouble him in the slightest." Pillmaster Qingxuan observed that we showed no signs of discomfort. A flicker of disappointment flashed through his eyes before vanishing. He tucked the porcelain vial away and retreated silently. "Do you not know that a starving camel is still larger than a horse? What a bunch of fools." Baiyu muttered under his breath, causing Pillmaster Qingxuan's complexion to turn as dark as the bottom of a cooking pot. Regarding the sect-protecting formation before us, a single glance was enough for me to perceive its underlying mysteries. The 16 formation eyes are intricately linked. One only needs to temporarily seal a single cycle of the formation to easily open the entrance. I looked at Dongfang Haoshan, who was breaking out in a cold sweat, and said, "It will not take much time for me to break this formation." However, he pondered for a moment and shook his head. "I dare not trouble Master Shang Yun for the time being. Let the Soul Master handle it instead. Does he truly believe he is still the invincible powerhouse of the Shang Yun era?" I have never heard of Master Shang Yun having any achievements in formation arts. We cannot place our hopes on you. The Soul Master spoke with great smugness, while the Mad Blade expert beside him offered a sarcastic remark. Their gazes were filled with disdain as they looked at me. My proposal was rejected, yet I felt no anger. I stepped back, indifferent. Baiyu opened his mouth to speak but eventually fell silent. These ignorant fools have no concept of the 10,000 array interpretation. The diagrams I scribbled down casually years ago were enough to make Senior Brother Liu, a grandmaster of arrays, seclude himself for years, simply to comprehend the profound mysteries contained within. To think that a mere soul-casting master would dare to brandish their meager skills before me, like a clumsy artisan displaying their work before a true expert. As expected, the soul-casting master struggled with the array for over half an hour, exhausting his entire reserve of spiritual energy just to begrudgingly force the barrier to reveal a small opening, enough for a few people to pass. Everyone surged forward, entering the second level of the secret realm, the core area of the sect. No sooner had we steadied our footing than the Mad Blade cultivator clutched his long blade to his chest, his eyes fixing upon me with a sinister glare. Master Shang Yun, you didn't lift a finger when the array blocked our path. What if you take the lead from here on out? We have come this far, yet you haven't made a single move. Do you intend for us to protect a fraudulent champion? Is that how it will be until the very end? Master Shang Yun should finally reveal some of his supposed talent. The weak have no place among us. The group following alchemist Qing Xuan echoed his sentiments immediately. It was clear they were colluding to target me, but there was no need for Master Shang Yun to intervene. My presence alone was enough. Baiyu immediately stepped in front of me, his gaze sweeping coldly across the crowd as he moved forward to lead the way without a moment's hesitation. I paid no mind to these clowns, simply following along behind. We had not traveled long when Baiyu and I stopped in our tracks simultaneously. We exchanged a glance, both seeing the same realization reflected in the other's eyes. The aura of a heaven-grade divine weapon. Senior Shang Yun, have the two of you discovered something? Dongfang Haoshan, having recovered his strength, hurried over to inquire. I pointed toward the half-ruined shrine nearby. That was where I would find what I needed. A heaven-grade divine weapon. As soon as those words were uttered, the eyes of everyone present lit up with greed. A heaven-grade divine weapon is a treasure rarely encountered, even for cultivators at the Shenyu realm like them. Then let us go and see. Haoshan nodded immediately, and Baiyu's figure flashed, preparing to enter the shrine to retrieve the treasure. Third brother, it seems your luck is quite formidable. You have found something extraordinary again. Stop right there. Two voices rang out suddenly, one a sharp, cold shout, the other in a feminine, sinister tone, as a massive phantom. He struck down directly at Baiyu, a thunderous crash echoing through the air. Baiyu retreated while Dongfang Halin caught the Ice Soul Fairy and stood before the palace hall. Second brother, we discovered this place first. Dongfeng Haoshan's brows furrowed tightly. Third young master, you are still too naive. Today your second brother shall teach you a lesson. In this world, the treasures belong to the strong. A cold smile curled on Dongfeng Halin's lips. The experts behind him stepped forward, glaring at us, clearly eager to witness the coming chaos. A languid voice drifted toward us. The triumphant look on Dongfeng Halin's face froze instantly. Xiaoju, a scholar holding a folding fan, stepped forward slowly. The black mole at the corner of his mouth was strikingly prominent. Brother Xiaoju, so it is you. Dongfeng Halin immediately replaced his expression with a fawning smile. Dongfeng Haoshan's face, however, changed drastically. He leaned close to my ear and whispered in a low voice, "We are in trouble. Xiaoju of the Central Plains has also arrived. This man is quite renowned, and I fear his strength is not inferior to the senior beside you." Xiaoju's gaze landed on me, a cold smirk playing on his lip. "Brother Holin, clear the field. You should advise the third young master to give up rather than rely on these insignificant nobodies. The treasures within this secret realm cannot be obtained simply by gathering a group of weaklings for help." Xiaoju stared straight at me, enunciating every word clearly. "Am I not correct? Master of Shangyun Hall, what are you supposed to be?" Baiyu stepped forward, arms crossed, laughing coldly. "You even changed your name to Heavenly Pride. What a disgrace. If you fail to make it on to the Heavenly Pride rankings, do you intend to change it back? It is truly unconvincing. Xiao, leave that fellow Baiyu to us. I trouble you to clear out the rest." As Dongfeng Halin finished speaking, the Ice Soul Fairy and the Snow Lotus Fairy advanced together. Their divine senses locked onto Baiyu, ready to strike him down at a moment's notice. Xiaoju tucked his folding fan behind his neck and rolled up his sleeves. His aura surged violently, reminiscent of a primordial beast. Baiyu was held fast by the fairy of the Ice Soul Shui Lian, rendered completely unable to move. Dongfeng Haoshan's face turned deathly pale as he whispered, "Everyone, let us avoid his immediate edge. There is no need for the third young master to risk himself." The Mad Saber guest suddenly stepped forward, his long blade drawn as he pointed it straight at Xiaoju, sneering, "What if I were to defeat him? I also possess the strength to rank among the geniuses of the Kangyuan realm. Yet you speak constantly of how we are the weak. I, for one, would like to see what kind of skill this fellow actually possesses. An ignorant fool." I whispered to myself. I entered the pugilistic world at 16. I spent 5 years as a bandit, and at 24 I managed to gravely wound a cultivator. I seized his cultivation manual and stepped onto the path of the immortal journey. The Mad Saber guest dragged his heavy blade along the ground, speaking with every step. Golden energy condensed above his head, manifesting as a 100-foot-tall saber phantom. Relying on the long blade in his hand, he had defeated every opponent he had faced thus far. This was how he earned the title of the Saber Guest of the First Cloud of Yunsho. It was not merely a contest of victory or defeat, it was a battle of life and death. With a thunderous roar, the mad Saber Guest merged his entire being with the Saber Phantom, hacking fiercely towards Xiaozhou. How interesting, Xiaozhou remarked. Shiju rotated his wrist, lifting one hand toward the heavens. A 100-foot Dharma manifestation suddenly erupted into existence. The Dharma manifestation morphed into a giant claw, snatching the descending Saber Phantom. He squeezed with savage force. Boom! The Saber Phantom shattered instantly. The mad Saber Guest spat out golden light as his own blade broke into pieces, his face twisted in utter disbelief. I accepted your blade, now you shall accept my punch. Xiaozhou's figure flickered, appearing before the mad Saber Guest like a wraith, and he threw a punch with effortless grace. The fist imprint struck the chest of the mad Saber Guest, piercing straight through him and leaving a gaping hole. The heart of the mad Saber Guest was instantly obliterated. The mad Saber Guest, a cultivator at the 6th stage of the spirit wandering realm, stood before Xiaozhou. He could not even withstand a single move. He lost his life on the spot, leaving the others pale with terror. They began to look around frantically, searching for an opportunity to flee. Only I remained indifferent, my gaze drawn to what was revealed after the collapse of the lightning pavilion. Upon the altar lay no divine weapon of the heaven grade. It was merely an irregular dark green shard. Yet, it emanated the overwhelming aura of a heaven grade divine weapon. It was encased within a sphere of golden light. Just as everyone's gaze was drawn to the fragment, the altar suddenly shook violently, causing the entire surrounding ground to tremble. Pavilion Master Shang Yun, what is this? Dongfang Haoshan asked, his face full of panic as he cast a pleading look toward me. I shook my head, my expression turning grave. I already had a suspicion in my heart. I feared this object was a fragment of the saint's vessel. The tremors abruptly ceased, and a blinding golden light erupted from the altar. In the blink of an eye, the scene before me shifted, turning the world upside down. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a desolate gray space. Beneath my feet, there was only a blue stone path stretching into the endless darkness. With lethal danger hidden in the darkness behind me, I had no choice but to follow the stone path forward. As I walked, I withdrew the earth-grade divine weapons that Dongfang Haoshan had given me. I channeled the Hunyuan Heart Sutra, frantically absorbing the gang metal chi contained within them. 2 hours later, the 3 earth-grade divine weapons were reduced to mere dust by my absorption. My cultivation base also advanced, steadily rising from the 7th level of the Huaxu realm to the 8th. Before me, a dark golden palace appeared. Upon entering, I discovered this place was an ancient artifact refinement chamber. The shelves on both sides were lined with unrefined divine weapon embryos. Within them remained a massive quantity of gang metal chi. To me, this was truly the perfect place to elevate my cultivation. I immediately set up a defensive warning array at the entrance, sat cross-legged, waved my hand to collect all the unrefined weapon embryos, and began to absorb the gang metal with all my might. Within the divine sea of my dantian, beside the wood element Dao seed, 3 golden seeds gradually began to take shape. They grew continuously. Once they fully condensed, the gang metal great Dao seed would be complete, and I would be able to seize the opportunity to break through to the Shenyu realm. The warning array signaled an intrusion. Oh, a palace here? Lord Xiaozhou, shall we go inside and have a look? Nonsense. Having circled this godforsaken place for so long, the intruders were indeed Xiaozhou and his party. I immediately halted my breakthrough, waved my hand to retract all the weapon embryos, stood up straight, and looked calmly toward the palace gate. Xiaozhou led his men as they stormed in, and the moment he laid eyes on me, his face was filled with astonishment. It is you, Shang Yun. Lord Xiaozhou, since this Shang Yun arrived first, he has likely already taken all the treasures. A man following beside Xiaozhou immediately shouted, his eyes fixed on me with evident hostility. Xiaozhou let out a cold laugh, opened his full master of Shang Yun Pavilion, you heard what was just said. Whatever treasures you obtained within the hall, bring them out for us to inspect. To be perfectly honest, you are a relic of the past. With your great Dao wound still unhealed and your cultivation base shattered, I truly have no desire to strike you down. I wish to avoid the rumors that would surely follow. People would say I am bullying a useless wretch. With a cold gaze, I spoke slowly. I have already taken the items. If you want them, prove your worth and take them yourself. Xiaozhou folded his fan and suddenly burst into a fierce, malicious laugh. You old fossil, the era that belonged to you has long since ended. This is now the flourishing age of our younger generation. If you know what is good for you, hand over the items obediently and preserve at least a shred of your dignity. Old fossil, I murmured, raising an eyebrow. Have the youths of this generation become so ignorant of the vastness of heaven and earth? Watching them close in around me, I shrugged and spoke with indifference. You claim I am a remnant of a bygone era. Then let me see what sort of capability this generation of yours truly possesses. Or perhaps has a new cultivation system emerged in Shangyuan realm, one known as mouth cultivation? Before the words had fully left my lips, Xiaozhou took action. He took a single step forward, his stature surged, his muscles coiled with power, and a brilliant radiance erupted around his body. It was clearly a peak body tempering technique. With a thunderous roar, Xiaozhou's figure vanished in an instant. 2 afterimages appeared simultaneously to my left and right, and 2 fist strikes, enough to blot out the sky, descended upon me at the same time. The force of the wind from his fists exploded, causing the entire hall to crack instantly. As the structure began to tremble and collapse, I narrowed my eyes, paying no heed to the fist strike on my left. A cold smirk played upon the corners of my lips. disturbed the yin and yang. As my soft command echoed, the power of the five elements manifested around me, coalescing into a grinding disk of yin and yang. In a heartbeat, it engulfed both of Xiaozhou's figures. With the five elements reversed and the yin and yang crushing down, the disk spun violently, and Xiaozhou's wretched screams instantly erupted from within. Xiaozhou's followers were terrified out of their wits and turned to flee, but to think of escaping now, it was already too late. I spoke in a calm, flat tone. The yin-yang grinding disc expanded abruptly, swallowing everyone in the blink of an eye. A moment later, the yin and yang energies dissipated. The hall and Xiaozhou's entire party had been completely refined into nothingness. Upon the floor, only their divine weapons and artifacts remained. I reached out to collect the items, but suddenly let out a soft sound of surprise. Amidst the pile of magical artifacts lay an inconspicuous green fragment, identical to the shard found on the altar earlier, though it possessed no spiritual fluctuations, appearing as mundane as scrap metal. I channeled my gang metal spiritual energy and squeezed with all my might, yet the fragment remained completely unmoved. Could this be a fragment of a saintly weapon? I flipped my hand to securely store the fragment. In my past life, when I stood at the peak of the 10 tribulations of the true martial realm, I had never even possessed a single saintly weapon. Yet now, through sheer fortune, I had obtained a fragment of one. If I could gather enough shards, I might be able to restore this saintly weapon to the world. Just as I prepared to continue my breakthrough, to thoroughly enter the spirit-wandering realm, the world suddenly trembled violently. After a dizzying upheaval, I found myself back on the mountainside of the secret realm. My senses swept through the area, but I could not detect the presence of others. My figure flickered several times and I headed straight for the mountain peak. It was clear that Dongfang Haoshan and the others would eventually converge at the entrance to the third level of the secret realm, and we would meet there in due course. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the third level, Bai Yu stood before Dongfang Haoqian with an anxious expression, cupping his hands in salute. "Third young master, I must take my leave. I do not know where Senior Shang Yun was transported to. I came here following him, and now I only wish to find him." His master had vanished right before his eyes. If the other fellow disciples were to learn of this, they would surely hang him and beat him to death. Dongfang Haoshan hurriedly attempted to persuade him to stay. "Senior, if you could remain here and lend me your aid once we emerge, I, Dongfang Haoshan, promise to offer you a personal reward, double the share promised to the soul-casting master, alchemist Qing Xuan, and the mechanism master." Bai Yu waved his hand, decisively refusing Dongfang Haoshan's recruitment, and turned to rush into the deep mountains. The things the Dongfang family could provide, Bai Yu truly did not care for. "I wish you success in finding Pavilion Master Shang Yun, Senior. We shall meet again at the core of the secret realm." Dongfang Haoshan sighed, able only to watch as Bai Yu departed into the distance. This fellow is truly ignorant of what is good for him. The mechanism master rubbed his eyes, his expression full of indignation. Alchemist Qing Xuan stroked his chin and remarked thoughtfully, "This person's origins are mysterious, yet his cultivation is at the peak of the inquiry stage. It is strange that he serves as a follower to Shang Yun. Forget it. These are matters we cannot afford to interfere with." The Soul Master hurriedly nodded in agreement. Although the three of them are renowned masters within the Shang domain, they are of little consequence once they step outside of it. Everyone below the Supreme Realm is nothing more than a commoner third young master. Ji Guanzi spoke with a solemn expression, clarifying the situation. "I will speak plainly. If we encounter first young master Dongfang, Haofeng, or second young master Dongfang Haolan, we do not possess the strength to assist in the battle. You are of the same blood and kin, so they would not dare to act ruthlessly toward you. But for us, it is far from certain. Are you all intending to break our agreement?" Fu Bo immediately stepped forward. His face darkened as he demanded an answer. "There is no need to say more, I understand." Dongfang Haoshan waved his hand to stop Fu Bo, speaking calmly, "Let everything proceed according to your wishes. The treasures within this secret realm were never things I could realistically covet at my current level." Dongfang Haoshan understood the situation clearly. They had initially agreed to share 5 parts of the spoils with him, never intending to secure any great treasure, but merely seeking to borrow his reputation to gain entry here for a session of tempering. After placating the three, Dongfang Haoshan led his group to continue their advance. The atmosphere was stifling to the extreme. The warmth of their initial cooperation had completely vanished. At the same time, on the other side of the secret realm, Dongfang Haolan was growing frantic with worry. He had spent half a day wandering through the foggy expanse, and ever since he emerged, he had been unable to contact second young Master Xiaozhu. Could young Master Xiaozhu have encountered some misfortune? The Snow Lotus Fairy leaned against him, her brow furrowed. Dongfang Haolan shook his head firmly. Xiaozhu has reached the peak of the Tao-seeking realm. In this secret realm, he is practically untouchable. Even if he could not defeat his opponents, no one has the strength to hold him back. Unless an ancient monster from the Supreme Realm were to enter, but those old fossils are all in seclusion, desperate for a breakthrough. Yet Dongfang Haolan attempted the secret transmission technique countless times, only for his messages to vanish like stones cast into the deep ocean. A pillar of treasure light surged into the heavens, connecting the sky and the earth. Everyone within the secret realm could see it clearly. It is a sign that a supreme treasure has manifested in the world. With a wave of his hand, Dongfang Haolan led his men to rush forward at full speed. Other factions within the secret realm also stirred into a frenzy, converging toward the main peak. At this moment, I found my path blocked by a group of people. 7 or 8 men surrounded a brocade-clad young sectmaster, barring my way. With an arrogant gaze, he sneered, "Boy, hand over everything you have scavenged in this secret realm and call me grandfather a few times. Perhaps, if I am in a good mood, I will spare your life." The leading young sectmaster tilted his nose toward the sky, his demeanor insolent and overbearing. I raised an eyebrow, amused, looking at his deep green silk robes. The collar was embroidered with red clouds. He was a disciple of the Muhe sect. A second-rate sect, yet they dare to emulate others by bullying the weak. They are truly courting death. You know we are from the Muhe sect, so why waste your breath? Hand over your storage ring immediately. The lackeys beside him chimed in, shouting and bringing the same bullying behavior they used on the commoners of Wangjiang City into this secret realm. Do you think this place is Wangjiang City? I let out a cold laugh. Since you are so eager to die, I shall grant your wish. The moment the words left my lips, I vanished from where I stood. I appeared directly before the young sectmaster. With my left hand, I gripped his throat. It was as easy as crushing an ordinary mortal. You are in the Tao-seeking realm? The young sectmaster was stunned into silence, and his lackeys turned pale, drained of all color, not daring to utter a single word. In the Muhe sect, only the sectmaster reached the Tao-seeking realm. That alone had been enough for them to terrorize the region for 1,000 miles for years. Do not kill me. My father is also in the Tao-seeking realm. The young sectmaster's voice trembled with fear as he invoked his father to save his own life. Regrettably, that tactic is useless against me. Open your eyes wide when you reach the next life. I applied the slightest force to my palm, and a colossal surge of spiritual energy instantly enveloped him, reducing his body to ashes and obliterating his remains. Seeing this, his entourage turned and fled for their lives. Scatter, I uttered softly, and a terrifying fluctuation of spiritual energy erupted like a primordial beast, crushing and devouring them one by one, leaving them no time to even emit a final cry of agony. Having calmly cleared away this trash, I searched their storage rings and harvested quite a few low-grade spirit weapons, which were perfect for absorbing their metallic essence. Previously within the mysterious space, I had opened my middle dantian, placing me halfway into the Tao-seeking realm. Now with this metallic essence, I could strike while the iron was hot to achieve a total breakthrough. I found a secluded mountain cave, set up a formation, and sat down in meditation. I laid out all the spirit weapons and sharp blades before me. Streams of pure metallic essence were stripped away in a torrent, pouring endlessly into the divine sea of my dantian. Within my middle dantian, the 7-colored divine bridge roared to life, piercing straight into my Niwon palace. My consciousness surged through layers of chaos, rushing into the Niwon palace as my proteal spirit condensed. When the timing was finally right and I opened my eyes once more, 2 flashes of golden light flickered in my gaze before vanishing, while the phantom image of my primordial spirit appeared briefly behind me before fading away. The seed of the great Tao of metal was now completely condensed. My cultivation had firmly stepped into the Tao-seeking realm, but simply entering the Tao-seeking realm was not enough. I stood up, sensing the power surging through my body, and a smile touched the corners of my lips. If I could seize all the spirit weapons within this secret realm and absorb all their metallic essence, I could reach at least the 4th level of the Tao-seeking realm. Since my 7th disciple, that boy Baiyu, dared to disguise himself as my follower, then as his master, it was only natural that I borrow his identity for a while. The Phantom Dream Immortal technique and the instant shadow steps used by Baiyu were personally taught to him by me, so when I cast them, they could only be more powerful than Baiyu himself. Once I had decided, I formed a seal and circulated the Phantom Dream Immortal technique, as dreamlike vision swirled around my body, and my figure shifted instantly. In the blink of an eye, I had completely transformed into the appearance of Baiyu. Even if the real Baiyu were standing right before me, he would be absolutely unable to tell the true from the false. Come now. The feast of plunder begins. I chuckled softly and activated the instant shadow steps. The void rippled like water and my entire body vanished into thin air. My first stop was targeted at Dongfang Hafeng and Ba Shangho by his side. A group of rogue cultivators had been cornered by Ba Shangho in a dilapidated shrine, forced to hand over every treasure they had gathered. Ba Shangho slammed his spear into the ground, waving his hand with an expression of utter disgust. Very well. Just as the rogue cultivators breathed a sigh of relief, preparing to depart, a pale hand suddenly reached out from the void, and with a gentle wave, the pile of spirit weapons and artifacts on the ground vanished in an instant. My figure slowly materialized, standing brazenly before them, utilizing the flash step technique. You are the 1,000-faced ghost monarch, Baiyu. The Bashang Marquis's face turned deathly cold as he instantly recognized my movement technique, but there was no reward for it. I mimicked that cavalier demeanor of Baiyu. I replied mockingly, "Daring to provoke us, you are truly courting death." The Bashang Marquis roared in fury, thrusting his spear forward. A sky full of spear shadows surged toward me, instantly sealing off every path of retreat. I shook my head, my form shifting from solid to ethereal, then condensing back into reality. The sky full of spear shadows was as nothing to me. Dominance is not cultivated the way you do it. I chuckled softly, and my figure vanished once again, leaving the Bashang Marquis unable to find a trace of me no matter how he searched. The Bashang Marquis is indeed Baiyu. Dongfang Hafeng stepped forward, his expression grave. He is even stronger than the rumors suggest. The Bashang Marquis nodded and said in a deep voice, "It is rumored that he toyed with a supreme realm expert while only in the Tao-seeking realm, and even after being pursued for 3 months, not even the hem of his robe was touched. Now it seems these rumors are true. The second stop is the Yun clan." The Yun clan members had exhausted every ounce of their strength, having finally located a rare herb capable of assisting a Dao-seeking realm cultivator, an yin herb that could directly elevate one by a minor cultivation level, and were carefully placing it into a jade box. But the very next second, a hand appeared out of thin air, snatched the jade box and sank back into the void, without leaving behind even a single ripple. By you are courting death. The Yun clan head, Lin, trembled with rage. Yet, no matter how desperately Lin Wanyi unleashed her killing moves, there was no response from the void. The third stop was the Lin clan. A group of Lin clan sword cultivators had spent half the— From within the hilt, a heaven-grade spirit sword soared into the sky, its sword intent lashing out in all directions. Yet before the energy could travel even halfway, a hand reached out and seized it firmly. My figure manifested in mid-air, and with a flick of my wrist, I claimed the spirit sword for myself. Indeed.